Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Lawsplaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. And with me today is my co-host, guest, moderator, whatever you want to call her, Tess. Tess is going to help me with some of these issues because well, I'll let her explain why I might ask her for help. Go ahead, Tess.
Hey, Rackets. I guess I know a little bit about cybersecurity and privacy law. I've taken the classes for sure. I am one, not a lawyer, and two, not capable of giving legal advice under threat of not being able to take the bar. And I guess I got interested in cybersecurity and privacy law because I didn't know it was a thing before I got into law school, and it's been the focus of a lot of my summer internships.
And now let me give you full disclosure. I am a certified, on paper, documented cybersecurity law expert. I have the piece of paper that specifically says that I'm the expert. But keeping up with that is takes a lot of effort, and I have not been practicing in that field. Tess has been studying quite a bit more recently than I have. That's why I've brought her on. But we're gonna come across show paperwork. I don't even know where that degree is. Where is that thing?
Is it the CIPP U.S. distinction?
No. No, it's an actual. I took a cybersecurity law program, and I have like a certificate from the school. I just don't. It might be at my office. I don't remember. It's a piece of paper. Anyway, it took them like quite a while to get that piece of paper to me. This is all irrelevant. This is all irrelevant. So take my word for it because I'm an expert, but take Tessa's word for it because she knows more than me. But anyway, what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about some of the issues. Now, let me make a couple things clear at the start, because if any of you guys from the Runescape Reddit who are entirely mean, how dare you internet bully me? If any of you guys did happen to show up, thank you so much for watching. I am not going to profess to be an expert on RuneScape. I have never played it. I have friends who have played it, but I don't know a lot about it. And so I'm not going to talk about the details of RuneScape much. I'll tell you what I understand about the situation, but I'm not going to come in here and tell you about your game or anything like that because that would be silly of me. But if I do get something wrong, feel free to at me in the chat. I will be able to see it. And I'm happy to be corrected on details. Like I'm not one of these guys who thinks that he can't be wrong about things. This is not my world. It's y'all's. So please, if I got something wrong that you think's really important, let me know about it, and we'll modify the information as we go. I do have some notes about this that have helped me understand the situation. But what we're really going to try and focus on is the legal aspects, of course, not the gameplay aspects. And I want to be clear that at this point, a lot of this is speculation. And that's okay, because we can talk about, as I'm sure Tess can confirm, because I'm going to put words in her mouth right now.
That's why I do it.
The way data security and cybersecurity works, often there's a lot of speculation leading up to the reveal of what happened. And often that information is either both correct and incorrect, but that's because the party who holds the data and holds all the information about it is the party that stands to lose. So it doesn't always come out right away. So if we speculate and offer some hypotheticals, know that it's in the good nature of exploring how the law works on these very complex, but I mean, increasingly frequent, increasingly devastating topics. I mean, these are the kind of things that can run companies out of business very quick. If there's data stuff, they can put people in prison for years. It's not a joke. So we're going to talk about it a little bit. Okay, one final thing I have to cover before we get started, and I apologize for dragging you through my voluminous intros, but I was sent this bottle of ale aged in oak bourbon barrels. It's a Allagash. Allagash? I don't know if that's backwards for you guys. It looks like it. But we're going to give it a shot. This is from Ben. Thank you so much, Ben. I can't wait to do this. It's apparently going to open up like a champagne bottle and probably going to break something in my office. So we'll see how that goes. There we go.
Not injure yourself, Rackets.
I've lived so far. Ooh, that's actually quite good. I'm not a beer fan. Let me be very clear on that. This is very light on the beer flavor. It's not very hoppy. Goes down very smooth. It does have the carbonation, of course, but... Well, I'll be sucking that down throughout the stream. So that'll be great. This will become more of a disaster as we go. All right. So, Tess, do you want to give us some background or should I do it?
You should do it, but you should also acknowledge that Lucifer Love Monkey paid you $5.
I should do that. That guy is great. Lucifer Love Monkey has sent a super chat. It said, here's $5. Thank you so much, Lucifer Love Monkey. I really appreciate it. If you guys have specific questions on this, please feel free to drop a super chat and we'll see it right away. We might see it in the chat. We might not. Otherwise, it all just kind of depends on the conversation. If you do drop a super chat, we'll definitely read it on stream. We'll address the question as best we can, and we'll move on. And if you hate it, you can make fun of me. So that's good. All right. So, backstory from what I've gathered. And this is the danger part for me, okay? Because, again, I'm not hip to all the details. But, long story short...
Roasting.
Yeah. Long story short, there are two versions of RuneScape. There's the current version of RuneScape, and then there is a 2007 old school RuneScape, which is like the release version, but with new content. So some of the changes that have been made over the years have been left out or reverted, however they manage that. But they're two distinct games with two distinct communities. There's some sort of overlap, I understand. Like there's like a account swapping feature where you can transfer some things between accounts or something like that, but largely they're independent products. These events allegedly occurred in the 2007 version of RuneScape, the old school RuneScape. Yes, I'm drinking again, and now you can't trust my legal advice. That's true. This happened in the allegedly happened in the old school version of RuneScape. There was a mod hired by Jagex by the name of Mod Jeb. Jed, not Jeb. That would be great if it was Jeb Bush.
Jed.
Mod Jed. Okay, so there's a mod hired by Jagex, who is the owner of RuneScape. They hired Mod Jed. Jed had a player character. I'm not going to get into the name. I don't remember very much, and I don't want to look it up. But anyway, so he had a character, which is typically against company policy for the company employees to have characters, from what I understand. But because he had his character prior to his employment, they allowed him to keep it, probably through some negotiations. So anyway, that leads up to a tournament, which, from my understanding, is almost like a PUBG style tournament, where everybody kind of spawns on a fresh map with fresh characters, and then they're given a certain amount of time to get to various locations, and it's like a PvP sort of map. You can kill pretty much anybody all over the place, and the winner of this tournament was supposed to get something like $20,000, and
10K to the charity of their choice.
And 10,000 to the charity of their choice. Thank you. Okay, so long story short, Mod Jed, which I keep saying but is not true. Mod Jed is in one of the clans that are on the game, and what was their name? Stupid clan name. I seriously have it.
Oh, it was the Reign of Terror.
Reign of Terror. Yes, Reign of Terror. Oh, good. Yeah, so he's in Reign of Terror. Allegedly, some of the Reign of Terror guys seem to be getting to the locations before everybody else. And then there were people who were on their way to the locations getting lagged out and killed, or left out of the area for too long and dying that way, presumably through DDoS attacks. Now, people suspected it was Mod Jed. Jagex went so far as to not award the $20,000 prize to the first place winner, but instead to the second place person. And they admitted that there was something that happened, some unusual activity, and they would investigate it. They did end up clearing Mod Jed of all of all suspicion at that point. However, the players weren't all convinced because a DDoS attack, of course, requires an IP address, and Majed was apparently credited as being the person in charge of IP security for the player base or something along those lines. All right. So then we start moving forward. People's accounts start getting hacked, and millions of gold, in-game currency, worth of items and gold itself get stolen, get taken off of characters and moved to other characters. And what happens with that is that this in-game currency, while not officially sold by Jagex, has some sort of value attached to it because there are third-party sites that sell it, even though that it's against the game's terms of service. And from what I hear, you can actually buy from Jagex like subscription bonds, basically, and then you can sell those subscription bonds for in-game currency to other players. So you can buy a bond would say pay your subscription fee, which is $10 a month for maybe a month or 3 months, like that, and then you can sell those bonds to people in-game. So there is a way to monetize in-game real-life currency. And from what I understand, the value of what he stole is somewhere around the value of what someone allegedly stole is somewhere in the neighborhood of 150,000 US dollars. So it's a very significant theft. And there are further allegations that maybe some credit card data. It's $11. Okay, it's $11. There are further indications or accusations that maybe some credit card information was compromised because there's a player who basically alleged that and talked about how their authenticated account was hacked and stuff was removed. Following that, just yesterday, Jagex, all these J names, Jagex issued a statement, which is on screen right now. It's been on screen the entire time. And let me get up my window so I can actually read it because, So
Rockets, do you see at the end of it where it says there's no credit card information compromised? Just want to point it out. Okay. All right.
I see that.
Spoilers.
We're going to talk about that, though. The question is whether or not you believe them. All right, so an important announcement, September 20th, 2018. We confirmed that a member of the old school team was dismissed from employment at Jagex following gross misuse of moderator privileges. During our rigorous routine system checks, irregular activity was identified on a small number of accounts, including the movement of wealth and items back into the live game. Following our investigation, we were able to resolve the issue before any significant impact was made to the wider game or economy. We have also taken steps to return items in GP to any affected persons or any affected accounts. I think that might be in dispute at this point. Whilst we generally do not return items or gold, we feel that given this unusual situation, we wanted to ensure no players lost out to the rogue actions of a member of staff. We are actively working with the police regarding the incident, but given this is an ongoing legal matter, we are unable to provide further details. Let me clarify, that's unwilling, and maybe wisely so. But unless there's a gag order on talking, these companies can provide further details, but sometimes it's wise for them not to. And in this case, if credit card data was compromised, as they say it wasn't, it would be very wise of them not to give further details.
So if I could, some cybersecurity breaches are handled by a federal government agency that typically advises companies or forcibly advises companies not to disclose any of this information for an ongoing federal crime.
Advises or demands?
That's a forcible advisory statement. I think you could read that anyone to.
I mean, we could boil that down. The FDA has forcible advisory statements that are not actually legally binding. But anyway, this is silly. But yes, thank you for that input. And so they may be under orders from the feds not to talk about it. But okay, so moving on. We pride ourselves on the passion and integrity of the J-mods that work for Jagex, and we hold them to the highest standards. However, we are not afraid to take tough action and make difficult decisions if someone cannot meet those standards. We will dust ourselves off and move on. Old school is at its biggest and strongest since launch, but we still have much to do, not least a mobile launch, which each day gets closer. And then, of course, today they issued an update, which we're going to cover. Further to yesterday's announcement, we can confirm that none of our players' bank or credit card details were compromised. We work with an industry-respected, fully compliant third-party payment processor. Sorry. To purposefully avoid.
You get such a kick out of that.
I do, because that doesn't mean anything. To purposefully avoid staff having access to players' full bank or card details. This also applies when players choose to save their data at payment stage for any future purchases. Jagex undergoes regular third-party testing to ensure we maintain the highest security standards. As always, thank you for your support. Now, the reason I laugh at that, Tess, is because as you are studying cybersecurity law, what is the first rule of breaches? Or, I mean,
no.
This isn't official. This isn't an official thing, but the first rule is that it's not whether or not a breach will occur, it's when a breach will occur.
Okay, thank you for the trick question. I appreciate that.
Sorry.
Little softball.
Sorry, that was rude. Rude of me. No, okay, so, guys, the reason I'm laughing at this is because, one, even if they're confident that no credit card information was stolen, they can't know. They can't know because it might not have been stolen from them. It might have been stolen somewhere along the chain of communication between them and the third party. Yes, the fully secured third party payment processor. Fully secured doesn't mean anything. That's a buzzword. Data security and data privacy, as many of you probably know, is not something that you can guarantee 100%. It's not people breaking encryption and using their elite hacking skills. It's finding problems in usually the human element of any security system. So that's why I laugh. All of the major breaches that you have heard about in the news over the past several years, basically all of them have denied that client data or credit card data was taken, or have just obscured the fact that it was taken for months before it actually came out. So I don't necessarily buy it yet, but we'll see. We'll see. So yeah, let's talk about this. So Tess, what are we looking at here? Help me out.
So what it looks like is that the primary allegations are from the DDoS attack that happened during this tournament. If there was someone skimming these IP addresses and feeding it to other people, that's kind of evidence of a conspiracy. And most of this falls under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, 18 U.S.C. 130. I don't know if you want to show everybody what that looks like.
You talk while I get that pulled up.
So there are a couple of things that 130 protects computers against, and most of it is damaging a government computer, a bank computer, a computer used in interstate or foreign commerce. And as we talked about earlier, interstate and foreign commerce is a pretty low bar to meet. Like, despite the fact that they even have a web store, them even talking to each other or people from other states talking to each other is enough to satisfy that.
Guys, if it's online, you're in interstate and foreign commerce. So that's just how it goes. Let me see. I don't know if I can actually scroll down on this because OBS is stupid. But nope, I can't. So that's good.
I just want to say, Sam S. and anybody else who's wondering, I have no idea what RuneScape is about either. I just think I started playing it 10 years ago when I was like 18. So forgive me for the limited knowledge that I currently have on it.
That's okay. And remember, we're not talking about what's going on in RuneScape. We don't want to pretend to know. We're not trying to invade that community. What we're trying to do is provide you guys an idea of what the legal issues are outside of that. So walk me through 18 U.S.C. 1030, the relevant portion. I don't know if I can get that pulled up easily, but I could probably snip it if we have to.
Okay, so you're going to be looking for A5, which is the one that he's liable under. which is the damaging of pretty much any protected computer. And from what we've seen, like all of these player accounts, the accounts used by the moderators, the accounts used by the company, are going to be protected computers just based under the doctrinal elements. A lot of these causing computer damage under A5, there's 3 different ways you can do it: through intentionality, recklessness, or causing damage and loss by intentionally accessing a computer. So you could just even like access someone's computer and have at it. Basically, what you're looking for here is that there was they're trying to prove a level of intentionality, right? But you could still always satisfy that under the lower bar of recklessness. And you could say that maybe JedMod was providing these IP addresses for a different reason and not totally trying to game the system and win a tournament for $30,000.
Right. Who would want to do that?
One of the interesting things on here is the penalties, which means if this was an intentional offense, Mod Jed is probably looking at 10 years of imprisonment just alone. If he committed this crime alone, that's what he would be looking at.
10 years imprisonment? That's not good.
10 years in prison. Well, up to 10 years imprisonment. I mean, you know, judges, they can always defer some of it.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So I'm boomering up the snippet here. It's not gonna come across nicely. So what I can do is I could just actually
put it over my face.
No. Yeah. Just for a second, I'll put it over us. I don't know if it'll help us read it or not.
I can't even see that. That's tiny. That's for ants.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. So I'm going to just get rid of it because it's not very helpful. Okay, let me just read it to you guys. The specific statement is whoever knowingly causes the transmission of a program, information, code, or command, and as a result of such conduct intentionally causes damage without authorization to a protected computer, or intentionally accesses a protected computer without authorization and as a result of such conduct recklessly causes damage, or intentionally accesses a protected computer without authorization and as a result of such conduct causes damage and loss. So the standard is, do they cause damage? Whether it's intentionally, recklessly, or just by happenstance. Lucifer Love Monkey says, careful, Nick. Okay.
I don't know what you're supposed to be careful about, though.
Probably everything. I should use some kind of ad block. That's likely true. But guys, the way OBS works, it doesn't allow you to use ad block in their browser, which is also why I can't scroll down in their browser. It's just a function of the stupid OBS browser system. Anyway. All right. So Tess, can you help us out with what a protected computer is?
Yeah, so a protected computer is either a computer used by a government agency, a computer used contracting with a government agency, a computer used by a financial institution or a bank, or a computer contracting with a financial institution or a bank. And then the last one, which is the category that we're looking at, is a computer that is engaged in interstate or foreign commerce, which is literally everyone. So
right.
I don't...
Yeah, unless you have an air-gapped computer. Air gap would be not connected to the internet in any sort of way. Never. That might be out of there. But basically, this is a catch-all phrase. It probably wasn't originally, but is now. So what we're looking at is liability for the guy who did this. And anyone who associated with him, right? So this is the guy who has the IP addresses. You mentioned this would be a conspiracy charge because I believe you mentioned that because we're under the assumption that the guy didn't do the DDoS attacks himself. He just provided IP addresses to someone else who was running the DDoS attacks. Is that the idea?
Well, I'm going to sound like a complete noob here, but I was under the assumption that these were clans, right? Clans of 50 people that are competing in a tournament together.
Right.
Reign of Terror apparently has like a bunch of people who are working in order to orchestrate this scheme. So it makes sense that it would be conspiracy under those facts.
Right. It just and conspiracies require 2 people. That's all. So it might be hard to prove that this guy was doing it, but if he's providing IP addresses and then someone's getting hacked, showing conspiracy becomes pretty reasonable. And plus, I don't know enough about the nature of conducting a DDoS attack on multiple people, but I would think you might need more than one person doing it. But maybe not. I don't know. I'm not
there are
a
script
power hacker.
programs to there are script programs to stress test new servers, right? So there's a likelihood that they were probably using that. But considering that he was a mod and then also the user probably was, this is conjecture for me, but
Sure.
assuming that the user wasn't actually mod Jed himself, right? That's two people right there.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, now let's talk about, so we talked about Majed. He faces, if he's the one who did this. Now, guys, I need to point out that Majed is not definitely the person. It has not been confirmed at this point, to my knowledge, by Jagex. However, Majed's account has been banned, so that's why the speculation is that he is the don't make interstate commerce jokes. That's why he is the primary suspect of the community right now. Buying feet pics. If you aren't a complete noob, you can DOS like 50 home connections for less than $50 a month. Well, there you go. I am a complete noob, so I wouldn't be engaged in that. But anyway, so let's talk about Jagex's liability. So if he has accessed IP addresses. Now he's credited with IP security. So let's spitball on hypothetical here. He engages in IP security. He has access to the IP accounts. They know he has access to the IP accounts. He starts distributing them. Does Jagex, does his hiring manager, who has, where does the ball stop rolling uphill?
Are you talking like respondeat superior right now?
That would be in civil cases, but in criminal liability, is there anybody who's a direct accomplice to him? Does a representative of the company? I don't think they do. I don't think they do unless it was directed by someone there. But is there a theory that you can come up with that would impose criminal liability on somebody other than him associated with the company?
You know, I'm not sure I can respond directly to the question, but I can say that the odd thing about cybersecurity cases is that the person being penalized isn't necessarily the bad actor. It is nearly always the company that falls on the blunt end of the sword for this. And it's because that they owe, a duty of loyalty to keep their customers' information safe. At least that's what we say that they owe us when we click I agree to their end user license agreement.
Right, but they didn't read it either, so it's okay.
Well, you know, that comes out so many different infuriating ways in court cases.
So, okay, so there's probably not criminal liability for the company, but let's talk about civil liability. So, you know, Jagex has allegedly made efforts to correct some of the transmitted data, or the data is what it is, but the in-game currency and the in-game items, they said they've reverted those. But is there civil liability under any of these statutes? Specifically, does 18 USC 1030, does that provide for a civil cause of action as well? Or would this be different from that, because that would be some sort of conversion, right? Like that would be the theory, I would think.
Okay, well, typically no, because let's think about what's being stolen here. Is in-game currency, in-game items. These people don't have any property interest in the in-game currency or items. They're in fact paying to use it. Now, it might have some monetary value in a black market, but that's never really been considered a sufficient standard of valuation, at least in any court system. I know that there's a couple of countries trying to push back on this, and I think I sent you a BBC article of some that did.
Yeah, you did.
But the problem with a civil act for a private actor is that there's no damages they could point to. You could say, oh, I spent, the past 5 years developing this account. And like, believe me, I've been an MMO player for a while. I've valued my accounts before, and they're up to like $4,000. If I were to sell them, they would have a tangible monetary value that I could point to. But it's not something that the courts are looking to protect because I don't actually own anything that I've made in the.
Gotcha. See, that seems weird to me. I mean, I believe you. It just seems like they would have come to some sort of conclusion on that by now. That they realize. So, does virtual crime need real justice? Is the article you sent me. This is an old article.
I know, but check it out. There was someone who was actually arrested in Korea for stealing in-game currency from another player. Like it was like a virtual stick-up. And I'm not actually sure about the outcome of the case, but there are countries that are interested in cracking down on the way that these games provide currency or provide content. Like even Sweden, there's another article I sent you, says that they're going to crack down on it by 2019, that most of this is gambling. And when you look at it, there is actual real world impact when people engage in these games and they start pushing this money out on black markets so other people can buy them. But the idea of a government regulating this is just terrifying to me.
Yeah. Well, there's a good question in the chat. I brought up earlier that that you can buy bonds, and those bonds hold both in-game value and a real monetary value. So is there a theory? I mean, we know how this works, right? Like there's what the court says is correct, but then you can always push the law in different ways and say, yeah, but you know, this is novel, so we need to look at it in this other way. So we have here Jagex towing an interesting line between the idea of having an in-game purchasable currency. And if it was purchasable and not just black market valued, I think we could agree at that point that there's real value to it, right?
I mean, I think the bond has a step in between, right? Which prevents it from being translated as a direct correlation for some kind of monetary value. I mean, I'm not sure. Like, this is fertile ground for any court to really decide on. I think that it definitely should be a private right of action. If anything, though, the company can say, like, we spent money, or these were our assets that were then misappropriated by one of our moderators or one of our gamers.
Sure. Okay, I want to get back now to the so we've got the DDoS thing down. That's the tournament. What's interesting about the tournament is we're talking about compromising computers with the DDoS attack. Is that what you're talking about with the Computer Fraud Act?
Yeah, that's my primary theory as to what they're trying to litigate over.
Okay, but the issue there, of course, is that they did an internal investigation. They cleared him of any of those charges, right? Like they said they cleared him of suspicion from the tournament itself on their internal investigation. So then I'm wondering.
So the next leg was the actual hack, right? The actual hack of many in-game accounts,
sure,
where they took the currency and items and transferred it, lost it, sold it. I don't know.
Right. Okay, so then you're saying that the hack that follows the DDoS attacks is the compromising of the computer sufficient for the statute. Right?
Yeah. Okay. I think both would satisfy.
Okay, gotcha. So my brain is, guys, I've had a good day. And by good day, I mean very, very frustrating. My brain is on fire. So I'm trying to make sure I'm following this. So, but here's my concern. So we can certainly pin down the DDoS and the hacks to the individual actions. I mean, they described it as the actions of a rogue employee, right? Which is very convenient to blame an employee for something that the company might have some liability for. But what I want to know is what there are players out there who are alleging that their credit card information was compromised. So let's roll with that. Let's roll with it.
Let's assume the facts are correct.
Let's just well, and their credit card information could be compromised in a lot of ways, but the one of the reasons that the person
Okay.
says their credit card information is compromised is how you do an account recovery, right? You have to have enough information about the formation of the account, the payment information, if my understanding is correct, to do basically a password recovery. My experience with a password recovery is back when I played EverQuest, like 15 years ago or whatever, 20 years ago. If you wanted to do an account recovery, you had to have the credit card that was used to open the account initially as part of that recovery process. And that added a layer of security to keep someone from just like maybe having your email address or hacking something of yours to get access to the actual account. So if that's the case, and this guy's account was recovered in that manner, and to be clear, the company has been quiet. Jagex has been quiet about that aspect of things. They've just said no credit card data was compromised, but they haven't talked about how these accounts were hacked. If they were hacked through the recovery process, then it's possible that credit card information was compromised somewhere. And maybe not at Jagex, right? Like maybe this guy knows the other person and compromised their credit card some other way, but that's kind of a safe assumption.
I really don't want to talk about credit card compromisation only because cybersecurity is a patchwork framework in the United States. So there's like 52 different fucking state laws I got to look at, except for, I don't know, Alabama and Louisiana or something.
You don't have to look at them. We could just talk about the possibilities. Like, so
that said, there's a disclosure requirement, right? And they face serious corporate liability if they don't disclose it. You said something about them hiding this for a couple years now.
Did I say that? I said that other companies have failed to disclose breaches of credit card transactions or credit card information or protected client customer data for months prior to this. For example, Target, when the Target point of sale breach occurred and something like 40 million credit cards were potentially compromised, they sat on the information for a long time. And not as long as some other companies. I believe Wells Fargo had a breach. There was one little company. What was it? It was the U.S. government. That one. They had a data breach and they didn't disclose it. Yeah. Equifax had a breach as well.
They're being fined 500,000 pounds for that breach because they actually impacted European members.
Well, at least someone's finding them. But anyway, so my point in this is whether or not it was actually breached. We'll find out at some point. At some point, if enough credit cards have been compromised and people make enough of a stink, there will likely be a federal investigation. They take this type of stuff very seriously, mainly because the amount of fines that the company would have to pay to the U.S. government for that breach is massive, and the government has a financial incentive to pursue it. It's kind of funny that way. But what I wanted to talk about was if there was a breach and if they failed in their duty to disclose, what kind of punishments would you think the company would be facing?
Okay, so I'm gonna drop a quick trivia tip. Most companies that have a breach only detect it after 18 months, and that's a fast rate. Okay, so a lot of different states have different requirements. I really can't tell you off the top of my head which one it is. I know California just has a privacy act that creates a private right of action, but also there's the GDPR that just came out this year, and that says that you have 72 hours to disclose to all of your customers if there has been a cybersecurity breach. Now, this might have happened before GDPR was imposed, in which case it doesn't get grandfathered into the clause. It is, accepted. But if it was, then they would be looking at 4% of their annual profits as a potential fine for not disclosing this or trying to hide it.
That's a bad fine, and that's on top of any civil liability or private cause of action that might come up, plus the cost of fighting each of those civil actions, which would be astronomically large, depending on the amount of people who breach. or whose information was compromised. And that really is a question here. So pseudomeme says when you store all your databases in plain text, you're asking for it. And this is something that I was alluding to earlier, is the fact that the way cybersecurity works and the way that cybersecurity breaches occur is that your security, you can have the best encryption, you can have the best thing ever, but if every single thing in the chain is not secured to the same level, your security is only as good as your weakest point in the chain. And to go back to that Target breach, they actually hacked the Target credit card information system through the point of sale machines where the credit cards are swiped. They were able to install spyware because, get this, one of the Target's, not distributors, wholesalers, I believe they sold refrigerators or something, wholesaler, to Target. Refrigerators and other kind of appliance-y products to Target. One of them had access to the point of sale system for Target. Mm-hmm. And so what the hackers were able to do was find a portal into Target's point of sale system through this third-party vendor who didn't have sufficient security. They were then able to install basically a piece of spyware into the point of sale updater, so that the next time the point of sale credit card swipe machines got updated by a software update, they would get they got this little scanning virus, and every time a credit card was swiped into them, it was dumped into a data file and transferred out to the people who orchestrated the hack. And so that's how they collected 40 million credit cards, is because 40 million people use the point of sale service, and it was distributed all the way down, and it was all through a third party vendor. Now Jagex doesn't necessarily have a third party vendor in the same way. They don't have a physical footprint in the same way. But talking about using a third party, when you add another person into there, your security can only be as good as their security and your communication between them, and then really the security of your employees as well. If you get a jilted employee who provides some connection data to an outside person, a lot of bad things can happen very quickly. So this is, I'm kind of ranting and tangenting out of this, but what I want to get to is the implications are very big if there was a data breach. Now, right now we don't have confirmation that there's a data breach, but I'm saying take it with a grain of salt. This would be very fast if the breach occurred in the past. I mean, even in the past couple months, it would be very fast for an announcement. As Tess has said, 18 months is the detection time. But if you are a RuneScape player, or old school RuneScape player, you may want to consider checking your credit reports and stuff like that, and just making sure there's no strange activity. That's not legal advice, that's life advice, but yeah. So
that's really the most distressing point, though. Like, even if a company is popped for one of these cybersecurity breaches, say, the federal government says, shame on you, Equifax, the most of what they're going to give to any customer that's been aggravated by this is free credit reporting for a year. That's like the only standard that is across the board applied in every single state level.
Yeah, and I think if Jagex wanted to get out ahead of this, they would probably just do that. They should just do it. I don't think the cost would be that high. How many RuneScape players are there? I know there's more.
That's Equifax's bread and butter, right? I mean, they essentially do credit reporting for all of America.
Right. But does anybody in the chat know roughly how many RuneScape players there are for the old school RuneScape system? And I'll fill the dead air with nothing. I got nothing. I'm just kind of curious because I just want to, the Jagex would have to look at the cost. But if we're talking about in bulk buying for a segment of the population, free, I guess, credit reporting for a year, and with a credit freeze and even a credit insurance plan, when they're talking $10 a month or $11 a month for a subscription service, it's going to be a fraction of what that is. when you start getting into the bulk figures and figuring out all the people who won't take advantage of it. So 80K
Oh,
active
yeah, that's right.
daily.
It's an opt-in system, so
Right. So what Jagex would probably want to consider doing is looking at providing that, because they're not going to get a ton of the cost. People have to opt into it. They'll get a bulk or a group rate from Equifax. There may even be some sort of statute about it or a regulation about it. I don't know, but yeah. So I don't know. Is there too much more to say about this? There's right now you're looking at individual criminal actors that had impact on individual people. That's what the DDoSs and the hacks. That's a criminal act. Whatever you think about games, whatever you think about the reality of the gaming community, these things would be treated as crimes once you get into the actual unauthorized access to a computer. Now, okay. So Tess, help me out here.
yeah.
Let's say I found not in any illicit means, but I found a text file with some usernames and passwords of RuneScape accounts on it, and I go and I load up my RuneScape launcher and I log in using those accounts. No nefarious actions, no breaches of anything have occurred. I just literally got a text file that I found on a floppy disk at like a garage sale or something, because they still sell floppy disks at garage sales, and that's true. But yeah, so then you access it. Are you an unauthorized? Is that an unauthorized access? I wouldn't think that would rise to the level of criminality that we're talking about in the same way
I
here.
don't think it does, at least in the United States. Now, I might be wrong with GDPR because it is draconian, but at least in the United States, it says that you have to have the name and then something else. So you have to have the name of the user and then the credit card information. You have the name of the user and an address, right?
Sure.
You have to have the name of the user, the username, and a password. And like there's a Safe Harbor Act too that says if any of this information is encrypted and they don't have the encryption key, then you're not liable. But
Gotcha.
I think in your floppy disk scenario, you might still be breached if the user incorporation of the name or if there's a name attached, if there was a password attached to the username, because that means you automatically have access to all these accounts.
Gotcha. Now here's the here's something that Buying Feet Picks brought up in the chat. He says DDoSing isn't accessing a computer, is it? It's just nulling a network connection.
I mean, it doesn't matter though, because like it's still against the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. This DDoS attacks is one of the things that it provides against for protected computers, which again, as we established, is literally everything. And for a serious injury, which I don't think I even told you about, is that it has to cause a loss either of over $500,000, or it affects 10 or more computers. Like, and this is not an exclusive list. There are more elements to other ways that you could do a serious injury, like serious injury or harm or death to a person. But just taking the facts that we have, those are the two offenses that he could potentially be liable.
Sure. For. All right. So while it's not a direct access, it's nulling an internet connection. Sure. It's one of the things that the law is specifically tailored to attack or to combat, we'll say. The Jagex being based in the UK doesn't really affect their liability because they're doing commerce here. And we have an extradition treaty with the UK, and this would all be a very serious felony. Excuse me.
Oh, it's a felony here too. No worries.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. It's a felony in the United States. So if, let's say, even that Jagex is in the UK, which is fine, and Mod Jeb is over Jed, gosh, stupid Jeb Bush.
Come on, Rockets, can you get it together?
I can't. I'm lower energy than Jeb Bush. No, stupid. If Mod Jed is over in the UK or somewhere else, pretty much most places that are not the United States, outside of a few like Russia, I think like Ecuador. No, there's a South American country we don't have an extradition treaty with. We have an extradition treaty with almost every country that has a functioning government, and so assuming he's in a relatively modern country, we're gonna find and he did this. We would be able to extradite him for the crime, and they would be interested in doing so. I want to point that out. Like, cybersecurity really scares Congress. Cyber crimes, they're a hot button issue, and nailing people on high profile attacks is a thing that prosecutors want to do. So even if Jagex is in the UK and this other guy were in the UK or some other comparably situated country, they would be able to grab him if they can build enough of a case. Now that's going to be a question in the coming days. Jagex is going to be providing logs, I would assume, all sorts of logs to the police and to whatever law enforcement agency is looking at this, and they'll be trying to provide enough information for them to develop a potentially prosecutable case. Thank you, Loose for Love Monkey. Cave says no treaty with Taiwan. Correct. That is
You don't
true.
even recognize Taiwan as their own country.
Okay, so Buying Feet Pics says apparently he escaped to Argentina, but that's not confirmed. Argentina might be one of those countries we don't have a treaty with. It's one of the South American countries, but I feel like it was maybe Venezuela because Maduro is so weird.
I honestly don't know if there was a question there, but can we penalize someone who is in a different country that we don't have an extradition treaty with? You got me. I have no idea. I don't
Not
know.
really.
I don't
Not
know
really.
that question.
No, we'd have to get them under the jurisdiction. I mean, they could be charged. They could have failure to appear. They could have all of those problems that come with not appearing. But if we don't have an extradition treaty, we can't get them here. And that's like Edward Snowden. We don't have an extradition treaty with Russia. Russia has offered asylum to Edward Snowden. So, as you know, it doesn't change the fact that he's charged with crimes. He's not appearing for his court dates. They can't get him here, so they can't actually do anything to him. He's under the protection of another government right now. And good. Stay gone, Snowden. Stay gone. You sweet prince.
Well, exactly, precisely. I'm so anti-government surveillance that anything exposing the Patriot Act for what it was and the Inevitable Freedom Act for what it is, he's my goddamn hero.
But anyways, guys,
how's that beer, Rackets? Because this is the first beer you've ever drank on stream, right?
Yeah, it is. It's still a beer, and I can't drink them very quickly. I'm just bad at it. There's taking too big of sips is got an aftertaste to it.
Well, you know that people have a drinking game for how many drinks you drink, right? So maybe you should start double fisting it.
Yeah, here you go.
There you go, kids. For you.
Again, as far as beer goes, it's probably the best beer I've ever had. Okay. Well, anyways, guys, okay, I want to wrap this up because there's not much more to say about this at this point. These issues are very they take a lot of time to come out because if there's a data breach that occurred, the company has to really tread very carefully on what they say, how they say it, and how they reveal it. I can drink beer on... Oh. No, okay. That's because Tess talked while I was drinking, and so it switched to her face. I spent all day trying to get my stupid face and her stupid face, which it's not your face that's stupid, it's the...
No. Just commit or don't say it at all, Rackets.
Okay, fine. Our stupid faces to switch back and forth when we talk... because no one can talk to each other when they program things. So, and I'm terrible at technology. So hold on. I'll take a drink on stream. There you go.
That was me not talking during the entire time.
That was nice. So anyway, these things take a long time to come out. They take a long time to work through. as you said, there could be some gag orders from the government or I'll say advisories from the government on talking about them publicly, and that might convince a company not to talk. Plus, even if, let's say, every allegation is true. Excuse me, beer.
Yeah.
Let's say every allegation that we've gone through is true. Building a criminal case around those things is a highly technical task that will require, multiple resources from the district, whatever attorney would be handled this, assistant U.S. attorney, I would assume, because this will be a federal crime. And it'll take a significant effort from someone who is probably specialized in prosecuting them. And the prosecution could take years. It could take a year, 2 years. And you have to explain to someone who's worse at technology than I am, that DDoSing people's a crime. And that's a disaster. A lot of players... Okay, so this is... Tillip says, a lot of players were interested in a class action suit. What basis would they have to go on at this point? None.
Yeah, there's still the issue of damages. I mean, unless they can prove that they suffered some financial consequence from it, and even, like the company redeeming their in-game currency and items kind of obliviates that standing. They just wouldn't have it. They wouldn't be able to pursue any kind of class action.
Yeah, the question of suing Jagex is really, really tough. Even on an individual basis, suing them for the actions of an employee outside of his duties. And so someone you mentioned, Tess. Good Lord.
Are you doing there, Rackets? Too much beer?
See, this is whiskey is easier to drink.
I've been drinking hot toddies. It's good. It's incognito.
Okay, so here's the deal. What am I gonna say? Okay, so you brought up the issue of respondeat superior, which is a principal agency relationship between typically an employer and an employee. Not always, but typically that's how this works. The problem with respondeat superior and holding Jagex accountable for his actions is that DDoSing people and then hacking their accounts is not anywhere near his expected job duties, presumably. And so doing that, even during work hours, becomes really a problem because that is outside the reasonable scope of what an employer would expect their employee to do. And it's outside the scope of what a person would expect Jagex to be doing. And the ultimate issue with a respondeat superior theory is that the company that you're suing for the actions of their employee, you have to kind of have some indication that their actions would lead to the result that occurred. Like, if you're suing a trucking company because one of their truckers plowed over a family, right? Like, that makes sense because they have to know that if they have 10,000 trucks out on the road, the truck's going to get in an accident, and so they're liable for that. They can't pin that all on the individual driver. Now they can shuffle it off with all sorts of, he was drinking, he was didn't disclose a medical condition, something like that. But like just a pure accident, truck driver runs over a car on the side of the road and kills a family or something like that. The trucking company is going to be liable in most of those cases. Now, that's because it's predictable. With Jagex, there's nothing that Jagex does where they are typically logging into someone's account and transferring items off of their characters. That's just not something that is occurring in the regular course of business. It's not something that can occur by accident. That would be a willful act of one of their employees outside of the scope of job duties. So even an individual suit, like I know there's someone mentioned that it's like a million gold has a billion gold has a value of like $800, for example. And some guy lost 46 billion gold. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money and would certainly create a cause of action. That would be sufficient for a cause of action, but not against Jagex, probably. because you'd be looking for a principal agency relationship. Now, the question in Tess, do you want to talk about or theorize how you get there, or should I just keep ranting?
Okay, well, I mean, like, first of all, I disagree with you only because, like, normally we're looking for a physical departure, right? And when we're considering that, it means that he has to be not on the job site. Obviously, he was like running engage. Okay, let's assume my alternative facts right now. Presumably, he was engaged at the job site when he was pulling these IP addresses and then DDoS, so that his clan of choice could win the tournament. That seems exactly like something that we would expect a moderator to be part of, and to actually engage in his job to make sure that this tournament went off without a hitch. Now, I agree that perhaps this wasn't anticipated by the company, but I don't think that matters, as it hasn't mattered with a lot of the torts that we've seen under Respondeat Superior. So, I mean, that's where I stand. Like, there's no like temporal or placement element. If anything, you could get me on whether or not this guy had the authority to indeed facilitate a DDoS attack, and I think we can both agree that he didn't. But nonetheless, that doesn't seem to matter much to me. Go on with your rant, though, because it's compelling, and I enjoy it.
See, and this is the beauty of being a lawyer is in any case, half of us are going to be wrong, and in this case, it's you. That's fine.
Of course, I mean, I'm a law student, so not a lawyer.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Typically wrong.
So what we've just done though is provide an example of the two arguments that you make. Like if I'm arguing on behalf of JAGX, I'm obviously going to say this is way outside of our job duties. While he's physically placed in our company, on our company's equipment. Actually, I bet at this case, he is at his home. Because I bet he's a remote employee. I would almost put money on him being a remote employee. So
well,
I think
if he managed to flee to Argentina, yeah, I imagine people would have no ability to track him.
So I think if he's working at home, that slightly weakens your argument, but that's okay. That's okay. But no, so that'd be how you argue the JAGX side, right? You'd say, look, this is a remote employee. We put codes and policies in place. He is not allowed to access this IP data for anything other than these particular things. Maybe they have specific times or a specific program that he's supposed to use, or a specific standard operating procedure that he deviates from. When you have employees that are acting in a virtual manner versus a physical manner, like a trucker, a truck driver, let's just using this analogy again. Let's say the truck driver is driving down the highway and he stops to get gas and hits someone. Well, he's stopping to get gas as part of the course of business. But let's say instead of stopping to get gas, he wants to drive 3 miles or 4 miles off road to his, not off road, but off route to his, to a girlfriend's house. And on the way to the girlfriend's house, he plows into a family in a residential area. That starts to tip the scales away from his expected job duties. That starts to tip into being outside the scope of his business. So if you're an employer with employees who are largely stagnant physically, but they have a virtual set of tasks, what you do is you set up standard operating procedures for them. You stand up processes that they have to follow, and then you make arguments based on deviations from those processes. We have no information about this, of course. And then you made a very, very good argument for why Respondeat Superior does apply. I think in this case, finding liability, like you said very eloquently, where's the damage? And that's because if you guys missed it, the damage is hard to calculate because most of the value of currency is in some way attached to a black market as opposed to a recognized market. It's not clearly labeled, and so the court would struggle with attributing that value.
Well, it's not clearly labeled. It's also not attributing the actual work and time that the gamers value it as. I mean, this is a black market currency, and so it has its own valuation for people who are too lazy to actually play the game. But the people who I assume play it and actually generate this kind of income are much more invested than the people who are buying it. Additionally, I just want to highlight The company itself is the one being damaged by this, right? Because they've had to take remedial actions, provide all these in-game currency items, I'm sure that are easily identified. And that itself is going to be translated in the salaries that they're paying to their employees in order to facilitate this, or any other kind of recompense service that they're paying for. So one of the serious damage triggers is exceeding $5,000. I think that's an easy burden to meet on this case.
Yes, and Solid Snake, I recognize that Jagex does exchange in-game gold for membership. Oh, for membership bonds. So you can buy. No, see, so you can buy in-game gold directly from Jagex. It's not like a third step transaction, because what was communicated to me was you could buy the bonds and then exchange them for gold.
Well, I mean, even if it is a bond, they still don't necessarily own the gold, right? Like they can buy it as a commodity, but I'm not sure that it's still a property interest that they maintain. So regardless of whether or not it is stolen from them, I'm still skeptical that that could actually be used as a basis for damages, or that even a court or a fucking 70-year-old, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to curse, a 70-year-old judge would be able to understand that.
Okay, so there's some dispute about that. Look, I'm not going to get into the. Just know that you're having trouble convincing a 36-year-old boomer on the internet, who's on the internet doing a live stream right now, whether or not this is an in-game currency that has real-world value, that you can show, that has a direct real-world value as opposed to a black market. Now extrapolate that and make it worse, add 30 years to my life and make me dumber, and you've got a federal judge. Oh, did I say that out loud? Sorry. Okay, I want to get
Rackets,
to...
give me a second. I'll be right back. I need you to carry for a couple minutes.
How dare I? Yeah, I think we're going to wrap up the RuneScape issue.
For like 5.
Go. Get out of here. Get out of here. Steven Severin says, can you recap the Snowden case and details? I only know of him from the movie. Yes, we can, and we'll do that. I'll do that, or Tess and I will both do that in a little bit. I want to finish up the RuneScape thing first before we get into that, if there's any last questions. And Lose for Love Monkey says, do prize tickets at Chuck E. Cheese's have cash value? No, not really. More like registered Hallmark Oldster. Someone bilked you out of a bunch of Chuck E. Cheese tokens that they have value just because they have a retail market value. I mean, they would have value because you paid for them. They don't have a cash value in the sense that they're not a currency. And part of that has to do with... Part of them having no value has to do with gambling laws across various states and stuff like that, and protecting from them. There's a resale value if you sell it to Chinese gold farmers of about 35 cents per million sold, which is a black market value. Right. And according to Tess, who I trust to be
I'm
truthful
back
on this.
also, and I can hear you talking about
Yes. Me. Yeah, good. I know. That's why I said I trusted you as opposed to saying I didn't. No, courts have been hesitant, very hesitant to apply a black market value to goods and service, or to these intangible objects. And so that the question, the answer is not no. The answer is you have to convince a judge that there's a sufficient, consistent basis. Now, establishing that there's an existing black market, but that's recognized and accessible by any number of third-party websites that are out there. Maybe you can convince a judge that there is value there. Like, we're not saying you can't. We're saying that the courts haven't really recognized it in the past, which just makes your argument a little more difficult. And when I say a little more difficult, I mean a lot more difficult. So, but courts have held that black market value, or not even black market, but even non-market value affects the market. You can go all the way back to the worst Supreme Court decision in history, in some ways, Wickard versus Filburn, to find out that wheat that was not going to be sold somehow affected interstate commerce, wheat grown for personal use, and that the government had power to regulate it over the commerce or through the Commerce Clause. So there are ways to get to establishing a value. It's just going to be an uphill battle. It would cause significant difficulties with a class action lawsuit. Plus, let's be real. RuneScape users, I love you. You've lost $150,000 roughly collectively. A class action lawsuit is going to cost more than $150,000 of your money. And not that a company wouldn't take it on a contingency and wouldn't get recompense. You're going to get back on a per user basis a penny to, I don't know, maybe $1. And the lawyers are going to make something along the lines of 200 grand.
Bank. Right.
So whether or not you can do a class action lawsuit, it's not going to be worth it. Jagex is going to settle out. You guys are going to get nothing out of it. The lawyers would get something. The representative of the class would get a small amount of money. Maybe they could find one of these guys, like that guy that lost 46 billion gold, which is somewhere in the neighborhood of $20,000 if I'm doing quick math. But let's say he lost 20 grand. He's going to get something like $2,000-$3,000 as a representative of the class, and everybody else is going to get boned. That's just how class actions end up working out. It's not going to be worthwhile. I would suggest, actually, it would be better if people sued individually. The people who had significant loss, they could make those claims individually. Jagex might be looking to settle those claims. They'd probably be very willing to if you could find a line of causal connection to them. That'd be a very difficult thing. But you should certainly, guys, let me give you some non-legal legal advice. Suing Jagex in like 5 or 10 different jurisdictions is much more damaging to Jagex than a class action lawsuit would be. Like, it will cost them infinitely more money. You will have different results in each one. They're probably going to be more likely to settle out multiple lawsuits in different jurisdictions than to fight them, because it's cheaper to pay a lawyer for a couple hours of negotiation and then pay a settlement than it is to pay for a legal defense in any jurisdiction. So if you're one of the people who lost significant amounts of money, don't take our word for it or my word for it that respondeat superior is not going to work. You go talk to a lawyer and you sue away, buddy.
Rackets, God damn it, Jagex didn't do this shit. Someone else did.
Maybe. What if? And I'm.
Do you know what the ramifications are from suing a company that has a game that you love? The game no longer exists, Rackets.
Yes. Only if you actually love RuneScape. However, let me pose a theory for you, okay? During the tournament, Jagex had credible knowledge, credible information that this guy was in fact distributing IP addresses to other players, and decided, due to the integrity of Jagex, to handle the message handle the disciplinary actions and the response internally, because they have roughly, according to someone earlier, 2.3 million subscribers, and the damage to reputation that they would face for having one of their internal employees rig a $20,000 plus $10,000 to charity competition would be way more damaging than whatever disciplinary action or course they took. So they handle it internally. They say, we've cleared him of all wrongdoing. That's fine. I mean, private parties, my friend can steal a van and I can say I clear him of any wrongdoing. That doesn't mean he's clear of wrongdoing, right? So let's say Jagex had information, but what they did was, instead of bringing this to police, instead of bringing this to federal regulators who might say, whoa, wait a minute, you've got a potential data security issue here. It gets very expensive to deal with. They handle it internally and say, look, you can't do these things anymore. We're going to restrict this. We're going to put extra stuff on you. And then after that, he then goes against them. Now they've got a negligent supervision issue. Now they've got an issue with failing to properly I'm going to say supervise, but failing to protect their customers from a known danger, and that's different. So we don't know that he was cleared of all wrongdoing by any third party or by any law enforcement. We know that they handled it quietly by themselves, and there is, I would suggest, reasons that they would do that, and those reasons could lead to liability down the road. And if those reasons cause damage to a person, like let's say my insane theory, entirely conjecture based, although not really, were at all correct, you know, then a person has been wronged, potentially to the tune of 20, 30 grand. They should certainly seek recompense for that. That's my opinion. But
I agree. The company does ultimately hold the liability scenario, and it's unfortunate only because it happened underneath their nose. Well, I mean, maybe not even underneath their nose. As you said, they kind of knew that there was evidence of wrongdoing, even if this was a first-time offense. But I don't know that financially decimating them is the answer. And I'm
it all depends on what you want.
Apply that standard.
Right, and that is the real deal here. I mean, I don't know how much Jagex makes. Although if they have 2.3 million people paying $11 a month, that's a $20.3 million revenue stream plus whatever the other one is, 22.5. No. Anyway, so a $20 million a month revenue stream, that's a huge company. I didn't realize RuneScape was that big. I don't know if that's just RuneScape Classic or if that's all of the RuneScapes combined. They've got a mobile app coming out, which is going to pull in, you know, let's say they get 1 million downloads at a couple bucks a piece, or they have microtransactions and then you're out of everything. But this isn't a tiny company, and paying out a couple settlements for 40, 50 grand isn't going to bankrupt them. It doesn't look like. So, but there is risk, of course. Going after them in a class action is a bad idea.
It's definitely a bad idea.
You're not going to win on that. You're going to only win, I think, on individually being able to articulate how an agent of JetX gave your information out or use that information to cause you harm. That's how you're going to win this case. Doing a class action, you're going to dilute the power of the claims because you're going to have trouble certifying the class, I think. They talked about a very limited number of accounts, and not all states have to have big classes, but you're talking people are going to be in separate jurisdictions. If you're doing this all under federal law, certifying a class, I think is I don't remember. Stephen Birch, you're in the chat.
Oh, that's obnoxious.
Do you know
I don't even want to think about it.
Stephen Birch, do you know the federal class minimum for certifying a class under a federal claim? I think it's like 50 or 100 people. It might even be 100. But anyways, you're going to have real logistical difficulties doing it.
So what came to mind when I was looking this over before the stream today is that in-game currencies have received a lot of flack. I know that a bunch of federal agencies want to start taxing in-game currencies because, it'd be an awesome source of tax revenue. But the problem is that it doesn't actually have any valuation. And we see this because it comes up time and time again when game companies are offering like microtransactions or loot boxes, they consider it gambling. And that's one of the issues with the valuation of the currency itself. Because in these allegations, we still say that these companies aren't necessarily engaging in gambling because they're providing something at the end of the day, right? You're still receiving the product that you expected to receive, which is the game.
Sure. Although, I tell you what, if I pay a Chinese loot farmer $35 for my 1 million gold, he better show up with it.
Well, you better be able to fucking pursue that suit in China, man.
So I got to talk about this for a second.
Did you finish that?
No, I'm halfway done, but I'm realizing something. This is 11% alcohol by volume.
Ooh, nice.
Which guys, this is a 750 milliliter bottle. This is like an entire bottle of wine if I drink it all. So, cheers. Can't save it. The cork won't go back in.
Wait. Does it taste like bourbon? Because wasn't that the expectation you had?
It's got it doesn't taste like bourbon. It's got a sweetness to it similar to Maker's Mark. It's very smooth, but it's got the bubbly from a beer, right? So it's this weird combination. It does not taste like beer, though. I want to be very clear. It does not have that hoppy taste to it, that really strong bitter taste. It's very smooth. The only bar to drinking it really fast is that it's got the carbonation in it, which just makes it a little frothy and makes me a little belchy. But it is, I feel it kicking in pretty well right now.
Okay, so it doesn't look like Steven knows what your class action question was. What was it again? How to define a class?
What is the minimum amount of people you need to define a class under federal law? Okay, said, is there a hard number? I thought some weird legal numerosity amount was the standard. Maybe. Okay, what I want to do, guys, is... Oh, Lord, what's going on now? Oh.
Just go with it.
Lady Rackets is in the room. She can't...
Hi, Lady Rackets.
She can't hear you, but you all just heard that, so...
Yeah, we did. Okay, so while there's technically no minimum number of people needed for a class action, it's difficult, although not unheard of, to get a case with fewer than 40 individuals certified. I think basically you're just looking for commonality between defendants, which you already mentioned.
Okay, so 40, not a hard number, but 40 is kind of the
not
soft.
a hard number, but 40 is kind of, yeah.
40 is the soft cap. Okay. What are you... Guys, I wish I could point the camera at Lady Rackets' face because she's making...
Do it!
She's drinking my whiskey beer.
I want to try it.
You can try it all day, but you're making funny faces while you try it. Try it faster and give it back to me while I drink this tea.
Get her on stream. Lady Rackets on stream.
She doesn't want to be on stream tonight.
Come on.
No.
Tell her Tess is demanding it.
Tess wants you on stream, but...
Why?
I don't know why.
She looks better than I do.
They can hear you.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, babe. I appreciate that. Also, weird face.
Oh, yeah, you can't hear that.
I was going to say, you have your headphones on. You ruined this for me.
I do. Well, I have my headphones on because... Guys, let me do this officially. I'm ending the RuneScape segment. So if you're only watching for RuneScape, or if you're watching a playback, we're going to stop talking about RuneScape now because I'm saying Rune. And I sound very
You can leave now and start talking shit about us.
No. Yeah, you guys can. Make fun of us for not understanding your silly millennial games. We're such boomers. But then that's...
Okay.
Yeah, you're like 46 years old, Tess. What are you talking about?
I am.
Let me shift gears here. Scott Severin wanted to talk about Edward Snowden. We've got a live stream here. We've only been going for an hour and 22 minutes. So we're going to talk about some other things. I want to clearly shout out the RuneScape. Tess, do you have any final thoughts on the RuneScape thing? I just want to let it go. And we'll
I mean, it's unfortunate. I wish they had disclosed it earlier. I really hope that nobody's information has been compromised, because otherwise they're in like a fucking shitstorm of things that are going to happen to them compliance-wise. Other than that, yeah, no private cause of action, and I hope they get their money back from this horribly, terribly malicious employee. Quotes.
Yeah, and guys, if you're out there and you were negatively impacted by the actions of Jagex, press them on it, because you do potentially have a cause of action, whether you win or lose, that would be really frustrating for them to fight. I'm not saying you should go get a lawyer and start suing them, but if you did suffer loss, they said they took care of all the accounts that were impacted, but we know that some accounts were not recovered. I have a story anonymously given to me that I'm gonna let me talk about that real quick. Where is it? Let me find it real quick. I just want to get it accurate.
Just to put in another 2 cents. Like, yeah, fine, go pursue civil action against RuneScape. It's not like anyone plays your games anyway.
Oh, that was rude. That was rude. Okay, no. So one player who wished to remain anonymous was interviewed by someone, and I don't know who it was. Guys, this is in my notes. I don't know if it was the person who was helping me research this or if he got this from someone else. But someone who wished to remain anonymous claimed to have lost money and had it refunded. Said they lost about 11 billion gold that they earned through staking, which apparently is PvP. They had an authenticator on their account, so it required approval from the cell phone to log in. Jagex was at the time cracking down on stakers, being most of them sold their gold for real money. Despite never having done this, the person figured it was a false positive, and after filing a support ticket, Jagex said there was nothing they could do. So that person is out 11 billion gold. If the $800 per billion is correct, then that's like $9,000 right there. That's a cause of action against Jagex if it was their employee. The problem you're going to have is getting the facts together, but press them on it, because you could do. Here's the reality: if you did actually sue Jagex, if you went after them, you could get discovery, and all of their internal conversations about that tournament and their internal conversations about the events that followed could be made public. That would be a big mess for them. I'm not recommending you necessarily do this. I'm just saying push on it and get your stuff back, because if you legitimately earned things in the game and you put your time into it, that part of their job is customer service. So that's another part of a lawyer's job, is to advise people to pursue the existing channels to get remedies. That's not the legal system. Legal system is messy and expensive and long. So don't worry about that so much. But if you were harmed, take it. What do you want?
I said that's what you
What do you want? Seriously, what do you want?
Get on camera, Lady Rackets. If you're gonna talk, get there.
Just saying get on camera. Now you're drinking my tea? Why are you in here? What do you want?
I thought you were doing something.
I am going to do something. I'm going to talk about Edward Snowden. What do you want?
Oh, I don't know.
Then why are you standing in here? You're creeping me out. This is what I have to deal with in my life. Stop drinking my tea.
I'm just not going to talk about it.
Okay, Tillip says, dang nice overlay, by the way. Steven Severin says, Steven Severin, but I guess close enough. What did I call you? Okay, we're done with RuneScape now. Open season on any other legal topic ever invented. Tess will answer all of your questions with official legal advice. She's practicing illegally right now.
Nope. You're not saying that. I still have to take the part, and that's not happening. I'm a law student.
No, Tess is practicing for the bar. Tess is practicing for the bar right now. She's giving you 100% reliable legal advice.
God damn it, Rackets.
What are you in here for? What do you want? Why are you staring at me? You're weird.
I was looking at your bottles.
Why are you looking at my bottles? You trying to determine if I have a problem?
So, Edward Snowden, the hero, the mentor, the dream. How do you dismantle decades of government surveillance in a single fell swoop? Well, first you start off as an underutilized government contractor employee. And then, Rackets, you want to take it from here?
No, go ahead. I'm pulling up inspiration for you.
First, you start as an underappreciated governmental contract employee, and then you decide that, oh no, the programs that are being used against the American people surely shouldn't be used this way. Surely they know that all of their email conversations, text messages, social media conversations, and literally anything that they put on their computer is accessible by the government, right? until he finally stages a mass expose after massive paranoia hits him. And then we have what we know today: complacency with governmental surveillance. Because nobody can ever change it and it will never lessen.
Well, that's rude.
I mean, but that's what it is, though, Rek. It's like the Freedom Act ensured that all of these programs were going to stick around. National security isn't going anywhere. And if there is a lesser standard than reasonable suspicion, I would call it national security.
There we go. Here we go. There's his beautiful face. In case you don't know what Edward Snowden looks like, that's him. He's a patron saint of data, I believe. He was beatified by the Catholic Church. Don't ask them to explain their actions in the past 70 to 100 years. I called you Scott. Oh, I'm sorry. That was rude of me.
So rude.
What was that noise? That's a very good question. But what was that? That noise was me going to a web page with Snowden's face on it, and it having an autoplay video, because Edward Snowden could not save us from autoplay videos, and that's disgusting. Okay, so let me talk about what Snowden did, though. Because Tess just mentioned something, and I was busy looking for a picture of his face, so I don't know what she said.
Just giving you a preface, a little preamble. Go on.
So Snowden was an NSA contractor. I believe a high school dropout who got his GED. He was an NSA contractor. Good job, government. He was a data guy.
He was a scripter savant.
Yeah. What are you doing in here?
Oh my god.
Get out of my office. Anyway, this is a disaster. So he was saying, go away. Go to bed or something. What's wrong with you? So Snowden was an NSA worker, and what he did was he basically downloaded a bunch of files from the NSA and smuggled them out of a very secure building. He released them to a couple employees, a couple reporters, one of them being Glenn Greenwald. If you want to follow an interesting person on Twitter, follow Glenn Greenwald. You don't have to agree with his opinions, okay? But
I think they first published it on the Washington Post or Washington Times? Washington Post.
I think it was Washington Post. He basically exposed the reality of government surveillance. He exposed, relevant to the legal world, he exposed the existence of the FISA court, which operated. The FISA court is this beautiful thing, okay? It's a classified court with up until recently classified judges appointed by the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. He would appoint a panel of 12 judges to the FISA court. And FISA started issuing non-reviewable Supreme Court level decisions, guys. So they had established a secondary Supreme Court in regards to digital Fourth Amendment and international Fourth Amendment questions, foreign intelligence surveillance questions. So
I would like to submit that their new name is Super Secret Supreme Court.
Super Secret Supreme Court, yes. Yeah. Guys, here's the reality of what the FISA court was doing. It was issuing decisions that people like me and Tess cannot read, okay? These are decisions about Fourth Amendment digital security and surveillance that we can't read, we don't have access to, but are binding precedent that only the government would have access to. And when they're rendering these decisions, there's only a federal prosecutor in the room. There is not a defense attorney. There's no representation for the other party because they don't have security clearance to even know that they're being subpoenaed, for example. So what the FISA court would do is, let's say someone wanted a giant amount of data from Verizon about anyone who had texted someone in Tunisia, for example. The federal government wants a warrant to cover anyone who has used Verizon services to send a text message. They couldn't get the data of the text messages easily, but they just want to know what phone number sent a text message to what phone number in Tunisia. All of that. They would go to the FISA court, and a federal prosecutor would make the case as to why this warrant should be issued. Verizon would have no opportunity to object. Verizon wouldn't even know that this warrant was being requested. And when the warrant came out, Verizon would not be able to challenge it in the FISA court. Okay, this is crazy. The Verizon may not even be able to see the warrant that was issued. Basically, the NSA would go up to them and say, "You need to give us this data. We have a court order, and no, you can't see it. Sorry." So we're talking severe differences to the idea of open and transparent courts that we have in every other facet of law.
Well, I mean, there was a program called Prison. There were 9 complicit social media companies in it, right? And essentially what they did in this program, whether they agreed to it or not, or whether they, did not understand the terms of the agreement, is up for debate. But basically, what a bunch of these companies, Facebook included, provided was some sort of backdoor access to these federal agents who are then going to go in and look at any data used by the users of this website without any oversight from the company itself. And this is concerning only because then no subpoena, no warrant needs to be issued, right? Like no FISA court even has to be involved.
Right. And let me be very clear about these companies. All of them complied. All of the big major names, they all complied. Whether or not they had much chance to object is a different question, but they didn't raise much of a fuss about it. But listen, part of the problem with this, and this is one of the things Snowden did for you. Okay, this is why he's a patron saint, right? He died for your sins in some sort of way. One of the things he did for you is that the way the federal government was collecting data, this is a foreign intelligence surveillance court, so every action has to be related to a foreign communication of some sort. Now, and a foreign communication to basically an enemy of the United States. Now, what they had done through PRISM was set up this system, a tiered system of levels of separation. You've heard of the game 6 Degrees to Kevin Bacon, for example, where if you can take any actor and go 6 movies away and you'll be back at Kevin Bacon somehow.
Jesus.
With the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, they had a 3-step removal process, which meant that they could collect data on anyone who was connected by 3 steps to someone who communicated with someone in a target country. Now, let's say it's Iran or a similarly situated country. Iran, Afghanistan, Iraq. This is all going on through the early 2000s. What they found out when they actually looked after Snowden leaked this was that by doing a 3-step removal process, and what I mean is, okay, 3-step removal is, let's see, Nuria, what's his name? The guy Al-Awlaki, for example, was a radicalized Muslim imam. Anwar Al-Awlaki, he was a U.S. citizen, but he had communications with imams in Iran and Afghanistan that were radicalized, that were known to be enemies of the United States. Al-Awlaki was killed by a drone strike by Obama, peace be upon him. All that's a whole different conversation. But let's say Anwar Al-Awlaki is there. Now, let's say he has 1 million followers in the United States. Each one of those followers has then 2 remaining steps of friend connections on Facebook to be to you. So let's say you're friends with someone who goes to a mosque, for example, and then they're friends with you. But so you're friends with someone who goes to a mosque, who's friends with, or who has followed Anwar al-Awlaki or was recommended him by someone else, for example, and clicked like, and then that guy talks to Iran. You're on the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance PRISM list, so to speak, and all of your communications, all of them, even unrelated to these people, are now subject to government surveillance. That's what PRISM was doing. When they found out that they were using the 3-step process, that they were covering 94% of all Americans with this. So that's how interconnected social media was, because people would take a friend request from anybody. Like, you've got someone on your friend request who accepts all those random like hooker request profiles,
Oh my God.
right? No, but that's the truth. You've got someone on your friend's request who accepts all those friend requests that are nefarious, and then that person is connected, and then suddenly everybody in the United States just about was covered under PRISM. So because of Edward Snowden's revelation, they brought that down to 2 steps removed, and that dropped it to, it's something more reasonable now, like 65% of Americans, but it's better.
I mean, I don't think it is, but just to address some comments in the chat,
You don't think it's better, or you don't think it is? 64%.
It's better, but it's not much. It's definitely
No,
not much. I mean,
I was joking. It's terrible. It's absolutely a ridiculous disgrace. No. I was being sarcastic.
okay, good.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay, so confronting your accusers is a Sixth Amendment law, and that only applies if you have a trial, which doesn't really apply with FISA documents. Also, in regards to the Apple v. FBI, they were using Israeli hackers in order to get into the phones themselves, and they still are. Funny to know. The encryption debate has been ongoing, and most of the encryption debate has circled around using outside resources in order to do so. But the Cloud Computing Act that was just issued this year has kind of alleviated any concern we had, in that the government can force any company that has a cloud to release their documents, Google or otherwise.
I got a super chat from Ryan English. He said, "I'd like to view your difference between." He liked my view on the differences between Snowden and Manning. Snowden is he's what, like 5'11". He's probably 155 pounds. Peyton Manning is considerably larger. He has much better throwing arm than Edward Snowden. He played football for the Patriots. He's one of the best quarterbacks of all time. I'm not sure where the comparison's coming from.
Well, it's a Chelsea Manning question, and that they were stopped at the airport, you dumbass.
I know. Chelsea Manning.
You're being such a dick.
I'm sorry. It's all this bourbon beer, and an entire day of frustration, and then a weird Lady Rackets appearance. I don't know what's going on with my life. Okay, so Chelsea Manning. What is Chelsea's man name? I don't remember.
Bradley Manning?
Bradley Manning. That's right. Okay, so Chelsea Manning. Difference between Chelsea Manning and Edward Snowden. I'm going to say this cautiously. Bradley Manning was releasing troop location information, if I remember right, to WikiLeaks, right? Like which is...
I honestly don't know. I know they were stopped at the border, and I did some border exception work over the summer, but I can't tell you the details of that case.
What did Peyton Manning play for? It wasn't the Patriots. Guys, I'm not a football. What is this? Anyway, okay. I think, if I remember right, it's been a while. Bradley Manning was accused of leaking sensitive troop data to WikiLeaks, which involved the location of U.S. soldiers, which potentially put U.S. soldiers at risk. Okay.
I mean, literally anything can be qualified under the Espionage Act of 1917. Literally anything.
Yeah, but I think the allegation, and I don't remember specifically, but I think the allegation was that there was like specific current troop data that put U.S. soldiers at risk. Now that could be government propaganda. I'm not making a value judgment on it. Edward Snowden distributed the information to Glenn Greenwald. They were attempting to do due diligence to make sure that no information would compromise any United States assets, either CIA assets, and when I say assets, I mean people. They were trying to make sure that no data would come out compromising those assets. The problem is they ran into pressure from the federal government when information started coming out. They didn't have time to redact as much of the data as they had allegedly planned to do. This is their story, not mine. And so there was some compromising data. The difference would be, if there is a difference, I don't know that there is, but it would be in the intentions of the party. Snowden gave the stuff to Greenwald because he trusted him as a journalist to make the right amendments. Snowden had basically no time to get out of the country, and he entrusted the release of the information to people who would carefully release it. Now, whatever you think about WikiLeaks, I think WikiLeaks has an extremely positive role in society in exposing secrecy in what is supposed to be a transparent government. But we can question their methodology and still say that they have a valuable role, okay? WikiLeaks is not as careful as a guy like Greenwald. WikiLeaks gets the documents and publishes them, presumably without redaction. I think that's part of the appeal of what they do. So are they...
Well, and
Yeah.
that is essential, right? Because everybody says that Snowden was loose cannon who has, put the country in peril because he's revealed national security documents, but actually he did go through them and he censored what he was releasing to the public. He made sure that it was very tailored to the message he was trying to send, and that's why he reached out to people like Glenn Greenwald in order to do so.
Right. Hold on. Very important. Oh, Brady! Tom Brady. I was thinking of Tom Brady. He's a Patriots quarterback.
Oh, jeez, Rockets. Come on. Get your shit together, man.
Come on, it's football. I don't do football. I don't dislike
I don't do football either. I'm a woman, so me and sports don't get along at all.
Stop, Brady. Guys, I can't express. Hey, let me do an impression from one of my last interview streams. Everything's a little fuzzy right now. I just don't know. Snowden was a civilian. Manning was enlisted and had a history of being a problem while enlisted, says Super Iron Bob. Yeah, and ignoring the problem part of that comment, UCMJ is very different than the American civil justice system. If you have a choice, choose the American civil justice system every time over the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Every time, choose the civil court system. But yeah, so I mean, Snowden. Let's be real about what Snowden was. Snowden exposed some secrets. The government was lying, actively lying. The government was breaking the Constitution. The government was doing things that violated existing law. They were concealing all sorts of actions. They still are, but they're doing it less because of Snowden. That's all you really need to know about him. That's honestly, that's all you really need to know about him. He was, if you replace U.S. government with any major corporation, he is probably given a Congressional Medal of Honor. He is a superhero. He is protected by all sorts of statutes. The fact that he was exposing illegal activity by the government should give him a medal. It should. Instead, it gets him a prison sentence. It's kind of disgusting. I really, really hate how they have treated him. I hate how they have talked about him. I hate that people I know and care very much about say, yeah, well, he should be in prison. It's like, guys, no. What the government was doing was against the law. It was against the law. Not even just like secretly with the law. It was actually against the law. And once he came out with those leaks, they changed. And that's how you know the government is BTFO'd. They changed major things. They released the information about the FISA court judges. They started releasing and publishing FISA court opinions. That alone is massive because FISA court had been operating in secret since like 1974. Okay, so to have these decisions be published publicly and to have when they release these opinions, to have them specifically cite that they are now part of the public conversation. They would have been part of the public conversation all along. The government was lying to you. The government was illegally collecting your data. They determined that they were illegally collecting your data as an oops after the Snowden revelation. Okay, so what they have done to him is literally wrong. What President Obama did to Edward Snowden.
Oh no.
Yes.
We're getting fucking politics involved.
No, we're not getting politics
Rackets,
involved.
Can
We're
I
getting...
just say before,
No, hold on.
You disparage... Okay, go on.
I'm not disparaging him.
Disparage Obama.
I'm not disparaging him. I'm saying we have a president who claimed to be the most transparent in history, who issued
right.
He went after the most amount of journalists in the history of the United States. And he attempted to prosecute the one guy who exposed significant illegal activity of the United States government. Whatever you think about Obama, positive or negative, this is a very dark spot on his record, and it's very
You're
inappropriate.
absolutely right. I mean, he approved the Freedom Act, right? Which is the fucking extension of the Patriot Act. And I agree. Honestly, Rackets, I think that government surveillance needs its own dedicated strain, starting with the Alien and Sedition Acts of 1798 and ending with the FISA court revelations today. I want to be part of it.
Yeah, and let's be clear on who started it. George Bush. And he did not start FISA, but the Patriot Act under George Bush is one of the worst pieces of legislation that we can't get away from. And because, quote unquote, my patriotism, right? Like, I'm not absolving any party of this. All these very nice men and women in Congress, I almost said a profane word. All of these very nice...
How dare you? Your children are watching.
All of these... press S for John McCain, by the way. Do not press F. No, all of these men and women of Congress voted for this. No matter their level of outrage later, they all voted for it. They were all in support of it. And they can all be replaced, and they can all peacefully die on an island of old age several years from now, away from my government. All of them are scumbags. I'm so sick of... there's no party here. This is entirely on literally everybody in the United States government, except maybe some wacko like Ron Paul. And I say wacko with love, Ron. I say it with love. But no, I need to calm down. I'm gonna scream.
Calm down and drink more, whatever. Look.
And yes, poop puppets in the chat. Exactly the word I almost said. Exactly. You pegged it. You must have caught my pre-pronunciation. Sorry. Go ahead, Tess.
I'm sorry, was I going to say something? Because I completely lost train of thought. Aside from the fact that what is less than a reasonable standard? Really, when we're taught in law school, we're told that if you're going to be convicted of a criminal offense, there's a reasonable standard to search your possessions. There's a reasonable standard to stop you on the street. There's probable cause to take things from you, right? And what's less than that? What is it, Rackets?
I don't know.
It's fucking national security, because that's the only thing that has the catch-all, that has no goddamn sense of standard for when they look at your information, computer, digital, otherwise.
Yeah, national security is the excuse for everything. Knutstij, oh God. He says, I forgot to get mail forwarded to Michigan for summer break. Resident of Florida, mom's place was vacant. I just found out 2 months past delivery, I was called for jury duty. What do? Boned. I would call the court and tell them exactly what happened. Like, jury duty is a requirement, but they're pretty understanding. Like, hey, I just got my mail forwarded. I didn't get this. I really apologize. What do I do? Here's my current living situation. Do you need me to come in? Call the court. Don't call the police. I don't know. That's my opinion. But, yeah. Or you could just ignore it. I don't know. I don't recommend that so much. What's the punishment for stealing 3-2 beer from a grocery store in Minnesota to be able to keep drinking for the stream? I don't know what the punishment is, but the philosophical question is, whatever the punishment is it worth it? Is it worth it? Would you talk to the police before you talk to Hillary Clinton? No, Hillary Clinton's a lawyer. I'd talk to her first. Tess, if you have anything, just let it out right now. The bar, this deep in the bar review, people are not watching the stream anymore. So you can just say whatever you want.
Man, Rackets. There are so many things wrong with the legal system. I don't even know where to start.
Start with the bar exam.
I don't even know what to say about the bar exam.
Yeah, you haven't taken it yet. What you need to do, you need to be one of those people who takes it like 4 or 5 times, because they're the real experts.
Listen, man, it's not about how many times you take it, but whether or not you pass.
Pass on your first try. Just please pass on your first try. You don't want to take it again. You don't want to take it
I'm really
again.
sure I'll be fine, but also I might have to take 2 bar exams, which I'm not looking forward to.
So, Tyler Law in the chat says, Rackets is already disbarred. Don't listen, Tess. Which is funny. But I seriously posted in the RuneScape forum to let people know that we were going to do this stream. And someone said, this is why you were disbarred.
I don't understand. Can you tell me why you were disbarred? Because I apparently wasn't listening to your channel during that time.
I wasn't disbarred. I'm not disbarred. I'm an active member. I'm a practitioner in good standing of the Minnesota Supreme Court.
Yeah, but on Medicare's stream, like, obviously you're disbarred. So why?
I think it was Angry Stove.
Stove?
I think it was Stove trolling on Medicare's stream.
I told him he was fat today. Like, do I have to tell him he's double fat?
Yeah. I don't know that it was him, but he came on my last stream, one of my last streams. He was in the chat talking about in under the same name that he used to do the super chat on Medicare's stream, whoever this was. And he talked about it, and I said, I was like, I'm not mad. I don't know. I just don't know where you're getting this. And it was under True American Hero ! Was the account. And I said, I just don't know where you're getting this. And so I kind of confronted him on it. And he said, you're right. I'm sorry you got me. And he super chatted me $2.
What?
But it was $2.
Okay, that seems like a Stove move.
It was $2 Australian.
By paying you.
It was $2 Australian too. So that's why I think it might have been Angry Stove.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, then we have nothing to worry about, Rackets. Like, really. Like, who is Stove going to dismantle? Not you.
But it's funny to me that the joke has gone as far as it has. I've really not, like, I'm not mad. Stove, if it was you, I'm not mad. I don't really care. It's kind of just it's a good joke. But no, I'm not disbarred. I'll probably have to say that until the day I die.
Well, I mean, regardless, people are going to fucking employ you, and if you are disbarred, then they can't.
Right. And actually, I don't know if anyone's going to employ me anymore other than me, because I don't always play nice with others. But plus, I like doing this more. Dax Desi.
Well, there goes my job opportunities.
Well, you could intern for me on lawsplaining.
No way in hell, Rackets. I'm gonna get a goddamn 401k and live my life the way it should be lived.
Yes, and you should. You should go do that as fast as possible. Make all the lawyer money you can.
Trying. Go
Don't
answer comments. I'll be here.
Don't represent the homeless. Represent only multinational banks. Let's see. Dax Desi asks, "What's going on here?" I don't know. We're just on stream, drinking this bourbon flavored beer. I should probably stop and move to Twitch, but I'm comfortable here. I'm showing off this flashy new layout overlay that my thumbnail guy did for me. Which I'm
And the weird, kooky, cosmic issues of other people talking over him.
That was strange, but we'll take it. Andrew Gluck says, "My place of employment no longer requires a signature for a transaction of any dollar amount. How do you feel about this?" I don't care. I don't care at all. That's up to the payment processors and their agreement with your place of employment. Biggest Dickhead says, in 2007, it was a requirement in Alabama. The bar exam was taken by typewriter. A guy I worked with had to rent a typewriter to take the exam. That would be great. They should go back to that. Dax says, he says, it wasn't me that spread the rumor 100%. Robert Hancock, Robert Footpenis says, if the EEOC says they're going to win, can you trust them? No. And Dax, you don't ever have to be sorry for being late. I know you were watching the kill stream, but I forgive you. Because I like Ralph, and I like the kill stream, guys. Hamilton Burger says, forget Twitch. Some of us aren't cool enough to get Twitch. Nick will finally
I'm just pleased that I got to be the first person on the overlay. That's the best.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, I don't know if you realize how old I am. I spent so much time today trying to get this stupid face swapping video to work with an OBS overlay.
Guys, he spent 3 hours fucking texting me his technical difficulties and I didn't care.
3 hours just talking to you. You have no idea how much time beforehand I spent. It was ridiculous. Bob Hancock, Robert Footpenis. Yeah, I think you've got, well, I don't know what your case is, but I think you've got something. Just because the EEOC says they're going to win, don't listen to them, because if the EEOC says they're going to win, then Damore has no chance, for example. But I thought it was a James Damore question. They have no say over what's going on in California, even if they'd like to. So I thought that's what you're talking about. I'm sorry. No. Your case is very interesting. I'd kind of like to know more details. Hamilton Burger says 90. 90 what?
Lucifer, how old actually are you? If you're older than Nick, I want to know.
Bookum Dano says, Boomer. Dax Desi, did you send the cease and desist letter? No. I was stuck at home all day. Tomorrow, that is my first priority. Literally my first priority. Maddox, I'm sending you the letter. I'm sending it to your attorney in New York, too. Oh, do you not know about the letter, Tess?
Wait, now tell me what's happening with this letter. I'm sorry, I don't know what's happening.
Well, if you watched all of my streams, if you
And
only
I haven't.
if you only
And
invested
also-
like 25 hours a week to my stream,
Because you're a fucking madman who has like fucking 40 hours of streams per week. Yeah, go on.
so if you don't know, Doug Tenneple, the creator of Earthworm Jim, was on Dick's show on Sunday,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
Dick was
Yeah,
on his
very
show on
good.
Monday. Maddox
Yeah.
was on his
Yeah.
show the other day. Okay, so he had Maddox on first, and Maddox apparently is an old friend of his, so he had Maddox on stream, and Maddox was taking all questions from Super Chat. Apparently, there was not a banned words list this time. So I was at a private art event all weekend. It was lovely.
Yes.
I'm very thankful to my hosts who provided all of the entertainment and food and transportation. It was fantastic. Someday I'll be able to afford all of your sweet art. But I was at an art. What was that?
Don't worry about it. Go on.
Okay, so I was at this very, very fantastic art weekend with Lady Rackets, just us two for pretty much the whole weekend, and someone sends me a message and says Maddox is on Doug Tenneple's stream. I said, oh, that's interesting, and they said he's answering all questions from the super chat. So I drop onto Doug's stream. Now I have only once publicly, since the lawsuit started, publicly talked to Maddox. Prior to the Dick show, or prior to the split, I talked to Maddox in the Biggest Problem in the Universe Facebook forums, right? I talked to him about various issues on the show and stuff like that, just friendly arguments about about the problems that he brought in, like homeschooling, for example. So, but since the lawsuit started and I started covering it, I've publicly tried to talk to Maddox 2 times. Okay, twice ever. The first one was when his Discord became public. I went into his Discord. I waited the 10 minutes that was required for you to wait before they would allow you to post a comment. And I posted a very respectful comment that followed every single one of his rules of Discord. And I just said, hey, Maddox, I would like to invite you on my show to talk about your experiences in the lawsuit. I think you were treated very poorly by your attorney, and I would like to ask you some questions about that experience. Okay, that's all I said. There was no profanity. There's no mocking, no jokes, or anything like that. Not
But
a
you
single
got
one.
banned.
I got banned, and that's okay. That's okay. He banned me. I did not pursue
I mean,
him.
it was very Maddoxian.
Yes, very, very much Maddoxian. But he did not. I did not pursue him. I did not like DM him on Twitter. I'm blocked on Twitter. Prior to ever contacting him, I'm blocked on Twitter. I've not sent him Facebook messages. I've not tried to get into his Facebook groups or anything like that. Never. That was the first time I attempted to contact him. So then he's on Doug Tenneple's show doing an Ask Me Anything, basically. So I went on Doug's show. I dropped a $5 super chat, and I said, hey, Maddox, buddy, would you like to come on my show? I'd like to talk to you about Landau and your opinions on why he thought he could file an ethics charge against me. Because I'm genuinely curious if he had a discussion with Maddox about that or if that was his own move. My suspicion is that it was his own move, that Landau, independent of Maddox, made that decision. Okay?
I mean, if you're looking for verification, I absolutely think it was Landau's own move. Maddox doesn't know how to make these kind of maneuvers, nor would he actually try to achieve it unless it was something that was achievable within the first 4 months of his litigation. So it absolutely is a Landau move.
Okay.
Go on.
Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, at the request of, who was it? Someone said, play the clip. Bookham Dano says, play the clip. I'm going to play his response to you. And it actually will include my question, so this will be perfect. Okay. I won't be able to hear
Chat's
this.
even work. Here's
Can you hear this?
Rikieta
Oh, I can't
Law
hear
for
this.
$5.
hear
Maddox, buddy,
Do I have to turn
will you
on
come
the
on
volume
my
for the
show
weird live chat
and
for a
talk
second?
about your experience
Yes,
with
let me,
Landau
30
The answer-
seconds late.
No. Tell me when you've got the volume on for the chat, and then you might. I don't know if you need to mute your mic.
Volume
or...
up.
Okay. I'll load it up, and then you can mute it right after.
Chats even work. Here's Rekieta Law for $5. Maddox, buddy, will you come on my show and talk about your experience with Landau? The answer why he thought he could bring ethics charges against me. So this is a person who has
this guy is a stalker. It's insane. I don't know this guy. He follows me around everywhere. By the way, here's what I do know about this guy. He's a blackface lawyer. He paints himself in blackface. So yeah, I don't want to talk to you, dipshit. I don't want anything to do with you. Like, fuck off. He's such a hypocrite and a lie. This guy, by the way, Doug. Like he's like, he's told he's told some people's like, leave Maddox alone, don't bother him. And here he is bothering me. This guy's a stalker. Dude, fuck off. I don't know what your beef is with whatever person or whatever, but it has nothing to do with me. Fuck right off.
No.
Wait, so Maddox, is that a no?
Maybe.
That's a maybe. That's a hard maybe.
Cheers.
All right. So, do you have any ideas why I might send Maddox a cease and desist letter based on that? If you had to guess.
Okay, so all right, let's start with the basics. Disparaging, slander.
And we'll say per se slander, because he accused me of a crime, a serious crime, a crime of moral turpitude, which is stalking. I have not followed him anywhere, ever, followed him in any sort of way. I can't follow him on Twitter. I think I had liked his Facebook page back when Biggest Problem was on. I don't know the status of that. I do not comment on the Madcast Media webpage. I don't subscribe to him on Patreon. I don't subscribe to him on Madcast. I don't subscribe to his podcasts. I don't follow him in any sense, physical or virtual.
Oh, darling, let's say that you followed him at least in the litigation that ensued between him and Dick.
Sure.
Would you agree to that? All right.
Followed him? No, I followed the litigation. Absolutely. Outside of the litigation, I have not followed Maddox in any sort of way. Like, I'm not going through trying to find his conversations. Here's what I could have done throughout the entire course of litigation. And maybe I should have, from a business perspective. I could have created an alternative Twitter account, followed his Twitter account, and tried to get interesting or incriminating snips about it. I've never done that. I've not combed through like old Facebook posts or anything like that. But as far as stalking goes, the lengths that I have gone to don't amount to even anything close to something like a cyber stalking, and certainly not a physical stalking crime. As I'm not in California, I have no possible way to do that. So,
Listen, I honestly can't get involved in a cyber stalking crime, regardless if it's between Dick Masterson or Maddox or you, Maddox.
No. But so anyway, my allegation is that him saying I'm stalking him is absolutely defamatory. If you look at the content on my YouTube channel, it goes well beyond the scope of the Dick and Maddox lawsuit. I would actually prefer to cover just about anything else at this point. And I only cover that lawsuit because people want to see what's going on with it. People who pay me money on a monthly basis. But outside of that, I've made public statements that I would much rather the lawsuit end. Like, I wish the best to Asterios, but I really would prefer that his stuff be done so I can be done covering it. I really don't want to keep covering it. I'd like to talk about anything else. But regardless of that, his next allegation that I, quote, am a blackface lawyer who goes around in blackface. Both of those are wildly untrue. Wildly untrue.
Rekieta, I can't comment on that. There's just one photo of you in this shit.
There's
I
one
can't-
photo of me in what could be argued to be blackface, although I will vehemently deny that that is any common understanding of what blackface is. However, I will say that that photo is from a private party in my own home. I never left my house. I've never gone. You all right? I've never gone anywhere, quote unquote, in blackface. Not a single time, and certainly never as a lawyer. That picture is long from before I was an attorney. That was from years before I entered law school. Had no aspirations to be an attorney. So to say that I am a lawyer who is a blackface lawyer going around in blackface is absolutely defamatory. It is delivered to a third party, and it is 1,000% meant to damage my personal and professional reputation and cause me harm. That is not presumed damages. I would have to probably prove damages on that. However, the allegation about me stalking him would be a crime of moral turpitude. That is presumed damages, and I have crafted a cease and desist letter that demands a apology from him, and I think that's entirely reasonable. I will give Maddox the credit that he does not know me well enough to know the story. However, that is a reckless disregard for the truth, because I have explained that story and I've given the facts of that story to agents of Madcast Media on multiple occasions. I've given it to people publicly, and I've given it to people associated with his show who are not necessarily agents, but who do communicate with him. So at this point, it is obviously a reckless disregard for the truth. Even if I'm a public figure, which I would argue I'm probably not yet, and I'm fine with that. But even if I were, I think he rises to the level of actual malice in making those statements, and he can eat a phallus for that. So that's so I'm sending him a cease and desist letter, and he can do with that what he will, and I will send it to his New York attorney to make sure he gets it. Good job, Maddox. Do I disavow? No, I don't disavow. Disavowing means that I'm not responsible for my actions. I was 100% cognizant of my actions while I intended no offense, and no party was offended by my actions. The fact that someone more than a decade removed pretends to be offended by those is not my problem. I'm sorry. But and Tess is gone now. So. All right. How you doing, Tess? You all
Doing
right?
good, babe.
You all right, lad?
Oh my goodness. So I have this cough that is treating me terrible. And I'm unsure how it's making me feel.
Yeah. Well, if you need to go, you go whenever, and I'll just sit here and drink and ramble on about the virtues of life at this point.
Let's talk about the patriarchy, the FISA court, and Edward Snowden a little bit more.
Okay, what do you have to say? Hamilton Burger, real quick, says Maddox's lady bits were offended a decade after the fact. Maddox, I guarantee you, Maddox is not offended by that picture of me. I guarantee you Maddox was not. And anyone who is offended by it, stand under an anvil and wait for the rope to break. Okay, I forgot I was drinking beer and I tried to inhale it. All right. What do you have to say about Snowden now?
Do I have AIDS? Yeah,
AIDS?
I absolutely have AIDS. I
Oh.
have criminal AIDS. I have AIDS that will come in and take your family members away from you. It's that bad. So many AIDS.
Rackets, why are lawyers so bad at getting back to me when I email them? Have you paid them? That's the real question. Have you paid them? If you haven't paid them, I wouldn't expect an email back. Oh, guys, it was cold today, and I hate that. It was like 50 to 46 degrees earlier today, and that's not okay. That's not okay. That is a violation of my NAP.
Also, guys, just to maintain with Clay Early standards, I have AIDS Incorporated. Just so you know. It may or may not exist, but it is now.
Johnny Olson says, "Hey, Nick, tell us about how Surly Brewery is the best beer company in the world. So tasty and refreshing, it increases testosterone." I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. And let me tell you why. So I'm at a foot golf event, and a foot golf event is golf for poor people who only know how to play soccer. That's like
that seems like a soccer event.
It is. It's great. I actually.
Why do they call it foot golf? That's stupid.
Well, because you are okay. So you have to wear Argyle socks that are roughly knee high. You have to wear trousers. You cannot wear. You cannot wear soccer shorts. You have to wear like a polo, and you have to wear one of those driving caps. Okay. So you have to look like an old 1920s golfer.
So you have to make an asshole out of yourself.
Yes, but
is what you're doing.
It's all in good fun. So I'm at a foot golf.
You like it. You like it.
Of course I do. Of course I do. I like real golf too, but I like foot golf also because I used to play soccer when I was younger, and now running and sprinting makes me very tired very fast. So anyway, I'm at a foot golf event with my friend, and they have a Surly Brewery table. Surly is a brewery in Minnesota, and I go up and I said, "Oh, hey, I've heard of Surly," and the guy looks at me like I'm an idiot, and I'm like, "Well, that's nice."
Because you are.
Yeah, sure. How much have you been drinking? Goodness. So he
Many.
That's the spirit. So I said, "Okay, I said, I heard that the Surly Brew House is pretty cool. I've never been there." And the guy honestly looks at me as if I've stabbed a child in the face. And he's like, "It's the second most popular tourist attraction in Minnesota after the Mall of America." I'm like, "All right. I still haven't been there. Like, that doesn't change anything." I'm like, "That's cool, buddy." But he was kind of surly, and he was kind of a chode. So,
okay. Well, just to say, like, this, like, tiny little elemental distinction is the fact that you have never fucking engaged in his services, and that you've lived here your entire life, and of course you were definitely engaged in his services, but that he maybe should be aware of this.
I live 2 hours away from the Surly Brew House. And I don't really care for beer, so why would I ever go there? That's just an overpriced trip for me. I would much.
You love them?
No, I don't. I don't though. I have no love for them. I don't have hate for them either. But here's my problem. Here's my problem with this transaction. Okay, I'm there. And I'm a prospective customer, and I'm going to relate this to Comicsgate, but I'm a prospective customer. And here's this guy treating me like I'm bad for not having had his product before. This is not an enticing sales pitch. He should have said, "Oh, hey, you should come check us out. We're very popular thing. I'm surprised you haven't been there." But I was indicating that many of my friends had gone to this the Surly Brew House. That particularly while I was in law school, I lived 2 hours away, so I tended to drive home after class and didn't have time to go to like a place that was far away. So I was letting him know that I was aware of their product that I knew that it was relatively popular, and then he still chastises me for it, and I'm like, how are you? You're not earning business here. Now I'm going to relate that to Comicsgate because here we have Marvel creators and DC creators openly telling people that they don't want them to buy their product for various reasons, or being just flat out rude to them. And I'm not sure where this idea of business came from, because I worked some retail sales in my day, and that was never on our training material. Was you know what? Just go ahead and be a dick. That'll do just fine for us, and we want that. So, yeah, I don't know. What is the highest amount of money I would pay to visit you, Andrew Gluck? $0. I would pay $0 to visit you. I know where you live, fam. Hamilton Burger says I'm clearly the doubting Thomas of beer. Yes. Yeah. I've never liked beer.
I'm not sure why people are threatening me and then leaving the chat. Come face me, you assholes. Bring it.
Who threatened you and left the chat? I saw Dax Desi talking a little bit, but I didn't think he left the chat.
Oh, is it he? No one
knows.
knows.
Well, I don't know. I don't ask people their preferred pronouns.
Okay, darling. So the affirmed consensus is that if you are a RuneScape user, you best not really try any litigation with the company, right?
Wait a minute. Are you talking to me?
I'm talking to you, bitch.
I feel like this stream has gone 100% intoxicated at this point. I'm almost done with this lovely, lovely beer. Thank you, my man G-Boy. G-Boy swag. I don't know about that. I'm not in the position to make that blanket statement. If someone lost $45,000 from the actions of a company, from the actions of an employee of Jagex, I would be very tempted to talk to an attorney in that respect, because you're probably going to get attorney's fees taken care of, for one thing, or you're going to get a settlement very quickly, and you might not get your 45 grand back, but you might get $5,000 to $10,000 that you didn't have otherwise, and 5 to 10 in cash might be better than 45 in in-game currency. That's all I gotta say. Dax, I didn't assume your gender. I picked the default neutral honorific, which is he. The masculine honorific in English is the default honorific when you don't have a gender to choose. So don't challenge me, buddy. I love you. I love you. Send me a Hangouts. I have a bone to pick with Mein Führer Tess. I don't know if we want to do that.
Babes, dolls, you want to pick with me? You fucking chat with me. Right? Good night.
It is the masculine patriarchy. It is the masculine patriarchy. 100%. Could you have a feminine patriarchy? That's the real question.
I mean, that would be a matriarchy. There's a word for that.
Is it? Well, but my question is it possible to have a masculine or a feminine patriarchy? I think that it's possible. JJ Tristan says,
wait.
please, you know what that freedom of
Stupid
info
question.
site is for sure. Wait, what? What do I know? Website that publishes legal documents. Oh, well, it depends. If you're looking for federal documents, it's pacer.gov. Pacer.gov does have a fee. It is 10 cents per page, but they don't charge you if you use less than $15 per quarter. So if you just create a whole bunch of Pacer accounts, you could presumably get everything for free. I think I'm mortgaged out to Pacer by now. So I don't know if you're talking about Pacer, but then each state has state-specific documents. What? Oh. Tess, do you need to go to sleep?
Just had like.
Do you need to go to sleep?
I think we're done.
You are fully allowed to exit at your whimsy. And I will give you a very nice send-off. Just let me know.
I want the send off. Give me the send off.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thank you very much to my wonderful guest and moderator, Tess. She is, of course, a third-year law student, which means she is close to taking the bar. She is well-read on cybersecurity law. She has some very...
fucking disgust you. Go on.
She has some very fantastic internships that she has been doing, and I think she has a very promising career coming ahead of her. I'm not going to dox those internships. That's up for her to say or not say. I don't, just trust me, they're very good ones. But anyways, I am very grateful for her coming on because, like I said, I am a certified paper-proven expert in cybersecurity law, but it is not part of my main practice area. I have not read up on it recently, so I wanted to bring in someone who has much more current info than I have, and I'm very grateful that she joined us tonight. Thank you so much, Tess. And I will say that someone on Reddit in the RuneScape thread did say that they were surprised that the stream was actually somewhat informative, and they were happy for it. So we apparently did at least a passable job for one person.
We win for one person. Great.
And Lucifer Love Monkey says bye, Tess. So
bye, Lucifer Love Monkey. You're the best. Also, everybody else who didn't super chat, but you really should because you're cunts if you don't. Bye, guys.
And that's from the guest, not the host. And but you should take her words with severity because she is a law student. So
it definitely is legal advice. You should subscribe to Rekieta Law channel.
And speaking of that, guys, if you happen to be here and you haven't subscribed, please do. We're on the quest for 10,000 subscribers. At 10,000, I believe the algorithms change, and my access to extended audience will grow quite a bit. I am 100% committed.
We have to say this online so they can see it.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, sorry, I stepped on you. Talk.
No. You keep talking. Like I just want it to happen. Wait. No, that's not equally as impressive. Okay,
so
I'm done. Bye, guys. You're great. Okay, bye.
Bye, Tess. Thank you. Do you want me to kick you? Want me to get you out of here?
No, don't kick me. Just like talk to them.
It's literally an eject button. Okay.
I mean, if you want to kick me.
No, I don't want anything. So anyways, guys, the reason I'm talking about, I don't do this often. I'll read the super chats in just a second. I don't do this often, but definitely check me out on Patreon. I'm not saying you need to give me money. If you think my product is worth buying, give me money. Absolutely. I would love to take it. I would love to have you in my Discord. We do Wednesday live chats, all of that stuff. That is great. But if you don't want to give me money, just follow on Patreon so you can get the audio stuff. And follow me on YouTube. Because once we get that 10,000 subscriber mark, my tier of subscription changes. And I am 100% committed to increasing the amount of content I provide, the breadth and scope of the content I provide. So there's a lot more to come, and the more people that subscribe, the more people get to see it, the more I get to provide for you, and I very, very much appreciate the support you've shown me so far. So thank you so much for that. Let me read these super chats. Lucifer Love Monkey says, bye, Tess. I think I covered that earlier. Super Iron Bob says decunting, which I don't know what decunting is, but decunting is weird. Dax Desi says, I spam your channel and all the most popular streams, Rekieta Law. What else can I do? If you could create 2,000 sock puppet YouTube accounts, that would be great. That's a joke, YouTube. That's a joke. Don't ban me. But anyway, no, if you literally, if you think there's someone who would be interested in my content, just let them know where my channel is, and please ask them to subscribe. And if they want something specific, they're looking for a legal topic to cover, let me know. I have so many to cover that I'm not begging for leads to tell you guys stories. There's so much content. I love it. I have tons.
When's this planned?
Tess, what are you even talking about?
What did they do?
Mute your mic,
When
Tess.
was planned?
I'll mute you. You're getting muted.
Did everyone
Muted. Tess is muted hard. Okay, so here's the deal. I have tons of content to cover. Let me tell you what's coming this week. This week, I'll do the preview, right? This week on Rekieta Law, we have Monday, a victim in a non-traditional sense of child pornography. This is not a person who is in a video. This is a person whose relative, whose very close immediate family member was currently charged with child pornography. We're going to talk about what that has done to their family. We're going to talk about how the court process is helping or failing them. It should be very interesting. It will not be, in my opinion, graphic or anything like that. So, but I think it'll be interesting. I want to talk about how these crimes, sex crimes, are so fascinating because the impact that they have is disproportionate to any other crime. Most people would rather not be murdered, but most people would rather they be associated with a murderer than a rapist or a child pornographer. Like, that's how crazy this crime is in our society, which is ostensibly moving away from like puritanical values. We have a visceral reaction to sexual assault and crimes of a sexual nature. So we're going to talk to a person who is a current victim of child pornography, but in an unorthodox way. That should be very interesting to me. On Wednesday, we have the next chapter 2 of Russell Greer's book, Why I Sued Taylor Swift, with me, guest host Sriracha, and a special guest. Guys, this person was in not only high school, but also the same paralegal program as Russell Greer. So this is a person who will be there to fact check the claims of Russell Greer. This is a person who has offered and personally, in a face-to-face level, interacted with Russell Greer. We are going to read chapter 2 with this person. They will be participating. Please come check that out. If you love Russell Greer, if you love Sriracha, if you love me, or if you love Taylor Swift, you gotta come watch. I love all 4 of those things, so I will be there. That is on Wednesday. Other than that, we don't have a set schedule for next week, but I will be filling it as we go. Cody Wilson video coming probably. I was hoping to get it out today, but I had a terribly frustrating day. I was not able to get a Cody Wilson video together today. Plus, he was arrested today. That will kind of change how that video goes. That will be out tomorrow. I have been waiting. I was promised an interview by the Little Platinum Books guys. They have not responded to my emails, so now I am probably at the point where I'm just going to talk about their random Kickstarter scam, because it looks like a scam, it smells like a scam. We're going to talk about Kickstarter scams, and in particular, we're going to talk about Kickstarter scams involving Little Platinum Books, and there's some bombshell information in here. I may have a guest for part of that. That video is coming next week. That will not be a live stream. That will be a put-together video with some organization. Other than that, what do you guys want to see? Bookham Dano says, since the bad hombre only watched kids, does that make him a cuck of the pedo world? Gross. someone. Oh, if you have not watched it, I was on Coach Red Pill's live stream the other day with Aiden Paladin, with Data Distributed, and with Black Pigeon Speaks. Black Pigeon Speaks. We were talking about the Alternative Influencers Network report that was just released. Very, very interesting. Not a scientific paper, even though it's presented as a scientific paper. We have some theory about what it is. We have some criticisms of the paper itself. I talk about the legal issues involved with general tort immunity under the Communications Decency Act. So go check that stream out. I was on the Kill stream last night talking about Cody Wilson as well. What else do you guys want to know? Robert Davidson says, I sent you a tweet about a potential topic. I will look for that. Any plans on covering cryptocurrency related cases? If you send me some links, buddy, that would be very helpful. Currently, I don't have plans, mainly because I don't see them. Can we review the court scene in the Transformers live action movie for accuracy? If it is even close to the level of accuracy of the Transformers cartoon, I'm going to press X for doubt. Cover some Elon Musk Tesla drama. Oh, yes. Yes, the Elon Musk defamation claim against the alleged pedophile, I think is what he called the guy. So that will be interesting. That is actually on my short list of things to cover. Should do a video about why you hate that crippled president so much. FDR? Well, how can you like a president who refused to stand up for anything he believes in? That's the real question. How can you like a president that refuses to stand up? Did he ever stand up for a national anthem in his pathetic term as president? I don't know. Don't think so. Just disgusting. Just disgusting. So, all right, guys. Please give us a tour of your liquor cabinet. I mean, I guess I could do that real quick. All right. Let's talk about this. This is a 25-year Dalwhinnie. There's about one glass left. I got it on March 9th for Lady Rackets' birthday stream. It has been a fantastic companion. I've shared it with some very good friends. This is a Armagnac, which is a cognac. A brandy. A brandy. Sorry. I apologize. This is a brandy that was sent to me. I don't recall who sent it. I covered it when I got it. I apologize so much for not remembering. But guys, I can barely do anything. This is a Crown Royal Black. This was given me by Soban from the Discord. It is actually much better than regular Crown Royal. Let's see. Up here. This is a bottle of the $20 million mead. I was given this $20 million mead by a good friend and told to wait approximately 6 months. That was sometime in July. So we're working on waiting 6 months. This a mead, like wine, ages in the bottle. Whiskey does not age in the bottle. So I'm waiting diligently with bated breath for 6 months for that mead to age out and be ready. Next we have Jameson Black Barrel cask strength. This is from a Mr. Stephen Birch, which I am eternally grateful for. He bottled this, and Nick Rackets, I don't know if you can see this. Nick Rackets is written on the bottle, and that is actually in the book at the Jameson Distillery. So there's a bottle registered to Nick Rackets. So that's fantastic. Let's see. We have Maker's Mark whiskey. I won this at a Kentucky Derby bourbon tasting party. Absolutely great. The bourbon tasting party was at a priest's house, so that was fantastic. We watched the Kentucky Derby for all of 2 minutes. We drank bourbon for several hours. This is White and Mackay. There is maybe a half glass of this left. This is a 30-year-old blended scotch. Very, very good. Much better than I would say a Johnny Walker Blue, which is also a $30 30-year, a 30-year-old blended Scotch. I'd take White Mackay 10 times out of 10 over it. Their price is comparable. This is Kirin whiskey from Japan, from Mount Fuji, Japan. This says Maddox Lost on it. This is from Jacob Ceresia. Oh, I should say the White Mackay was a gift as well, which I very much appreciate, but I forgot who gave it to me. Again, I opened it on stream. We had a very nice discussion. I just don't remember names very well. Let's see. What do we got here? This is Suntory Royal, Japanese whiskey. This is inherited from my grandfather who passed away. He was a whiskey and Scotch fan, and I'm the main whiskey and Scotch drinker in my family after him. So I was able to take that home. I don't know if you can even buy that anymore. I don't know that it exists anywhere other than my liquor cabinet. This is a Jury, an unaged rye whiskey. It smells like rye bread dipped in gasoline or acetone. It tastes fantastic, actually, which is kind of a shock. This is from Keck7Go, who is a great friend. He is also in the Discord, and he also sent me this OMF gin, which is the rye whiskey is a product of Finland. The OMF gin, I think, is a product of Germany. I can't read this. This is in something not English. But anyway, this is a very good gin, very tasty. And what else I got? Oh, up out of frame is a bottle of Peg Leg Porker. Let's see. And then here, I'll get to your questions in just a second. So here I have these Flaviar tasting, are these gins? Yes. I'm a member of Flaviar, so I get these little samples, 50 milliliter samples. These are two different gins. One is from England, one is from the USA. I've not tasted yet. Here is one with 3 different scotches. One scotch and 2 whiskeys. The scotch is Kilchoman, which I haven't tasted yet. I haven't tasted either of these, obviously. But this was my Father's Day or birthday gift from Lady Rackets. So I get those every so often. What else do I have? I think that's all the liquor I have right now. But yeah, so there's a tour of the liquor cabinet. I hope that helped. Johnny Olson says 0 out of 10 liquor cabinet, not enough surly. Oh, you want to fight. Bookham Dano says, when is there going to be a racket fan meetup in Minnesota? I don't know. When do you guys want to do one? Dax Desi says, ask Rekieta Law about how hot I am. He may be reserved as he doesn't want to insult Lady Rackets. I don't know how hot you are. Do I have pictures of you? Is that a dangerous question? Lucifer Love Monkey says, aside from Fireball, what's the worst you've had? I had a really cheap Oaken Toshin, and I did not like that at all. That was a nasty, and someone suggested to put water in it, because they say put water in the whiskey. That Oaken Toshin was hot garbage with water in it. Don't do that. I'm not saying all Oaken Toshin is, just whatever one I bought, which was like the American Triple Wood or something. It was just garbage. Really not a good whiskey. Other than that, I'm not a big fan of the Glenmorangie 10. I know a lot of people like it, and you can. I'm not a fan of it. Bookham Dano, I don't know. I don't know if I even have pictures of it. Explain to Bookham. I don't know. Have I seen you? No, I don't know if I have pictures of you outside of your profile picture. What do we got? I think I have pictures of you somewhere, right? Like, I think I'm friends with you somewhere. I don't think you have the same name. Andrew Gluck wants to do a Minnesota meetup right now. That would be a problem. You're not at my house. I don't think we had sexual relations, Dax Desi. Yeah. Drudge Stream, do they have Alberta Premium in the States? Oh, excuse me. That's my go-to. I don't know. They might have it. I'm sure that Dax Desi is a beautiful individual. Certainly. I just can't give a number rating because I don't have the pictures at hand. You're not helping yourself because you will never catch me at a Denny's. Captain Weeb 56 says, I didn't know you were live. How's it going, dude? It's going great, although I'm about to be going to the bathroom, so I'm going to need to end the stream very soon and switch over to Twitch. Robert Davidson says, Oakentoshan is my favorite single malt. You had a bad bottle. I probably had a bad line of Oakentoshan, to be honest. I know they have... I think the bottle that I had was like a 3-year crappy product from a very small liquor store. I know that they have other, like they have a 10 and a 12-year. I did not have any of those. I did not have any of the labeled aged Oakentoshans. I don't want to like disparage the brand. I'm saying that the bottle that I had was not any good. I wouldn't recommend whatever one I've got or whatever one I had. So I don't even know if it was a single malt, frankly. It might have been. I just don't remember. Anyway. All right, guys. I'm going to buzz out here. I'm not going to Twitch my bathroom endeavors. I think I'd get banned immediately. But thank you all for joining me. Let's talk very soon. I'm going to pop on Twitch in probably 10 to 15 minutes. Playing Space Marine. People have brought Space Marine back from the dead. So come join me. And that should be fun. Anyways, thanks, guys. You have a great day. Oxygen Induced says, hi, buddy. Hey, buddy. How's it going?